This is Brown right here. Stops, scoops it up and in. Wow! Wow! Oh, my God!
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Altmaier steps up, drives the ball, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods again. That is his second of the night.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
And interesting fake and look. It's a touchdown to Ben Sims. Just love the poise of this young quarterback.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Empty backfield. Pressure. Heineke is jacked. Down he goes. The ball is loose. It's picked up by Dallas and Armstrong. He's got a convoy. He's going to walk in for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Thursday afternoon on a gorgeous day in Central Texas, and hopefully wherever you are. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Craig Smoak will join us momentarily. He had to go get his car inspected based on something that shrapnel off the road that hit part of his car. He'll be here as soon as he can be here. Paul Catalina in studio with me, and behind the scenes, it's Armstrong Sims, Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter with us as well. We will today, in this opening segment or two, take your phone calls on the Big 12 and men's basketball. We're down to the last 2 or 3 days. It's either put up or shut up, get a piece or outright championship in the Big 12. Baylor on Saturday evening hosting Iowa State. Tonight, Kansas trying to bounce back from the loss on, Tuesday to TCU as they host the Frogs, who have gotten to be kind of a problem with, not for them. They're having a great run with the wins against Texas Tech and also Kansas. So we'll take your calls. And really, a couple of different things. Your thoughts about what Baylor has done to find a way, which I thought 2 weeks ago was not going to happen. I just thought that mathematically eventually they would run out of room. Not to mention maybe players that how they have been able to bounce back, fight back, be resilient, and be now in a position of at least a share, if they win Saturday, of the Big 12 title.
Yeah, it's been impressive considering that they don't look the same as they did last year. Not in too many bad ways, but sometimes teams that win championships look the same year to year. I'll use your favorite football team, Smokey. Whatever Nebraska was winning, it looked the same every time. For the most part,
there's going to be some out there right now that don't have any idea.
But I mean, they ran the
a long time.
They ran the triple option. It was it looked the same. The power eye. They ran the option. It always looked the same. Baylor, and I think this is the true gift of Scott Drew and his staff, is they have been very good over the last 4 years, particularly, of adapting to their situation and creating a style of play that works for them to keep winning. And not that they always didn't do that, but for a while we're going to run zone, we're going to do this because it's been successful. These are the guys that we have. And then after Tristan Clark got hurt, they really started just kind of running the system that worked for them. And it was one way last year. Then they had some injuries this year, and they changed in the middle of the year, and it's worked again. And that's because you got a lot of guys that buy in. A lot of guys, all of them. Everybody buys in.
Yeah, no, and that's another thing because of who you have. That doesn't mean you don't think you have somebody with high character who then goes south or is a little selfish at times. And those who have been selfish, and Scott Drew said, what was it? I guess last week he goes, nobody comes to play here that doesn't have an ego. Those who come to play here all know how good they are and know how competitive it's going to be and know that they have to fit within the system, and it takes longer for some than others. James Akinjo came in as a highly decorated guard out of Arizona, and he's had to kind of give and take. You let him run a little bit, you also have to pull the strings back. Matthew Meyer, we know about his story. And then there's some that have had to push to be more aggressive along the way. And we've seen what Jeremy Sohan and Kendall Brown, among others, and what Flo Thamba, who to me is as big a story as anybody with what he's been able to do the last couple of weeks, especially against Kansas and then following up a game against Texas with his offense. Not just what he does defensively or on the boards, but also with what he's now done on the offensive end, where he's become a factor. Teams have to worry about the pick and roll with him. Teams have to worry about even hitting the 10-foot jumper. And so 254-339-1122, your thoughts. And not just about, are they going to beat Iowa State? Or there's a game tonight that matters with Kansas, again, hosting TCU up in Lawrence, Kansas, trying to avenge what happened 2 nights ago. But your thoughts about how this Baylor team has found a way. They now control their own destiny. I can't even imagine that, where they were 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and now they control their own destiny. So we have the lines open. We want to hear from you on that. Scotty B, by the way, put this out there just a minute ago in the chat room, 365 Sports. Iowa State last night was held to 38 points? Is that what it was?
I think it was 36. 36
points. It's the lowest. They scored 36 points, the lowest since 1948 in a game in Ames, Iowa. The Hilton Coliseum wasn't even built till 1971. So Oklahoma State and Iowa State had a chain fight basically on who could score who could score. And Iowa State, who's again, that's been a hell of a run that they've been on this year. But Oklahoma State, I want you to think about what Mike Boynton's team has done. They cannot play after this weekend. They're done. No Big 12 tournament, no NCAA tournament. They've been out, and they could have just packed it in. We saw them beat Baylor and Waco. And here they are, fighting and scratching. I know I use that term a lot, fighting, scratching, clawing to the end. Well, they only have one game left. And last night they beat Iowa State, which is a tournament team. And again, a really tough. So that means Iowa State scored 36 last night. They won't miss a shot Saturday night, so Baylor's going to have to score about 90 to most likely win that game.
They scored 20 in the first half. They scored 16 in the second half. And so it goes into the half, 22-20. And then Iowa State, there were only, in the entire game last night, there were only 3 players in double figures, and Oklahoma State only had 1.
Well, you only had 89 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, that's so just just an idea of how bad it got last night.
So here's the Big 12. Here's the standings as we head to the final games again, one tonight, and also what's happening again this weekend. Baylor's a half game up on Kansas. They're also a game up on Texas Tech. And then Texas at 10-7 is pretty much entrenched into fourth place. TCU 8-8, Iowa State, Oklahoma State at 7-10. Then Oklahoma, K-State, and West Virginia down near the bottom as we drag out the rest of the top 10. 254-339-1122. What are your thoughts on what Baylor has done? And also, what is the excitement level for you entering a weekend where they have a chance to clinch at least a shot, at least a chance, where they have a chance to clinch at least a tie for the Big 12 title, and yet might even win it outright? And so let's go to the calls. We'll go to the text, also the YouTube chat room as well.
All right, let's go to Marshall. Thanks for your call. You're on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Hey, good afternoon, fellas. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Well, hey, just a Bears fan right now. It feels a lot like redemption. Almost 50 years I've lived here in Waco, and just never imagined across the board, our cup of just runneth over like this. It's quite amazing. Y'all can't hear me, can you?
Yeah, no, we got you. We got you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're just.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen some of your discussion, the chat, and whatever else with us as well. Yeah, it's unbelievable that. Hold on, just a second. Sorry about that, Marshall. It's unbelievable that. That they're in. Are you surprised they're in the position? Did you give up on any kind of piece of the Big 12 title a couple of weeks ago? We losing?
Well, yeah, it seemed pretty unlikely because Kansas' history. You don't expect them to kind of falter towards the end, and on the reverse side of that, we just have so many reasons to kind of give up or slack off, and somehow, some way, we've gotten a little bit stronger as the year's gone on, and you gotta be pretty grateful for a couple of super freshmen on our team, I would think.
No question. Marshall, mate, thanks for the call. Marshall, appreciate the call. 254.
Do you have a question? Hold on, Marshall. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I've got a question for you three fellas. What do y'all think is the biggest surprise to our team this year? For me, it's going to be James Akinjo. What are y'all's thoughts? I'm going to go ahead and hang up and listen.
Okay. I actually think it's that James Akinjo is not that big of a surprise to me. He's a veteran point guard who came in pretty touted. I think it's Jeremy Sohan playing as well as he has, because between the three guys that came in, Jeremy Sohan, I think, was the one that everybody knew the least about. And I didn't realize how much he was going to contribute, not only overall this season, but from the very jump. Jeremy Sohan. Kendall Brown, everybody kind of knew about. He was this super stud freshman, but Jeremy Sohan didn't really have to work his way in. He was just there.
Fran Fraschilla said many times, though, he did say, listen, this guy's going to be, he's going to be known, but under the radar at the same time, if that's possible. Known because he was a high-level recruit, but under the radar because no one really saw him play last year. He was in Europe playing against grown men. I'm going to tell you this. It, to me, has to be Flo Thamba. And I'm talking about with really, Sohan's been on occasion up and down good. I'm not saying up and then down. He's shown what he can do. But in the last 2 or 3 weeks, where they are today is because, one, Flagler's been available a couple of times when they needed him very much. But to me, it's because Sohan has shown he can play everywhere, which we kind of knew. Remember, he went out. We didn't realize he was the glue. But Flo and his off, where would they have been without him? In the game against Kansas.
It would have been 28-4 at one point.
Maybe. Yeah.
No, literally. If he took out his points.
Who would have ever thought when Flo Thamba was going to get in foul trouble, you'd worry about how many points you might lose or the offensive end? You would never do that. 254. Thank you, Marshall. 254-339-1122. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
All right, let's go to Richard. You're on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Hey, guys. I have been following Baylor basketball. I've been through the riots at the heart of Texas, Shelby Metcalf, Abe Lemons, where, what lights, when the lights went out at the Coliseum, and then the tiny towels with Pender. But I've been just amazed at this team and the development that the coaches do. I let you guys in at the Farrell Center, was doing that for a few years, and I've called in just totally embarrassed about crowd because we were like dead last in the Big 12 as far as getting crowd. And I'm excited that we're going to 7,500, even though we did get 10,000. We do that on occasion, but we need it every night. And these guys have been just amazing. But what amazes me the most is the development of guys like Samba, Gillespie. I mean, it's just one right after another, and these guys get better. And that's amazing to me.
Richard, thanks for the call. Great to hear from you. And again, a lot of great people who work at Farrell Center that have allowed people in. Media passes when we go through various gates. And yeah, there have been times when you've looked up and gone, man, didn't this team just go to an Elite Eight, or didn't this team just win the national championship? And I know that there's always a back and forth on attendance, but by going to the new arena and lowering the attendance, heck, a lot of teams are doing that. A lot of people feel like Cameron Indoor is like 18,000. That's not the case. Now, and I'm not trying to compare what Baylor will have, but why not, right? Why not pack 7,500 or whatever it might be? Yes, Allen Fieldhouse. Yes, Texas Tech. Yes, Kentucky and Louisville and others. And they have massive crowds. And that's great. Sometimes because it's a history and tradition. Sometimes it's just a larger school or just a rabid and fantastic loyal fan base. 254-339-1122. Baylor and Iowa State Saturday evening. We'll know a little bit more about Kansas when they host tonight TCU, who just beat them a couple of nights ago, as Baylor heads to the weekend with a chance to win a piece of the Big 12 championship, and the energy and passion you have as they are about to host that game on Saturday here in Waco inside the Farrell Center.
Okay, let's go to Eric in Lubbock. You are on Stickum 365 Radio.
Hey, happy Thursday, fellas.
You too.
Hey, thanks. The reason I'm happy is because with an expected win over ISU on Saturday, our guys will join the women in repeating as Big 12 basketball champions. Both will also have very high seeds in the NCAA tournament, and both will once again place players into the NBA and WNBA. We have something amazing going on in Waco, Texas. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate your call in Lubbock, which, of course, they have a tremendous basketball team as well right now on the number 3 seed line. Yeah, when we say they're going to go back-to-back to win a Big 12 championship, they had never won one. They had never won it. And then last year they won the regular season title. They had that huge win in West Virginia and Morgantown, coming off the losses to I guess it was Kansas up in Lawrence, got beat up, and they had a chance to kind of decompress for a day or two and figure out who they were coming, and then they win a massive game in overtime against West Virginia, and here we are again. And they had a huge win earlier this year in West Virginia that was a big-time win when they needed that as well. 254-339-1122. 254-339-1122. Tony Price, Paula Burnett, Scotty B., Daniel, thank you. Stephen, all of you who have been on the chat room so far. Lee L. Buttercup, happy Thursday to you as well.
All right, let's go to Paul. You're on Stickum 365 Radio. Go ahead, Paul.
Hello.
Yep.
Hey, how are you all doing?
We're doing great.
I'll tell you what I'm thankful for is that we have a coaching staff that's been able to adapt, both men and women, to the realities what they have on the floor at the given time, be it either COVID, be it injuries. I mean, the coaching situation here is just unbelievable what they've been able to put together. I mean, we are so fortunate at Baylor to have 2 great coaches and an AD that went out and got another great coach for us as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's overlooked. And they had, of course, the great run under Kim Mulkey for many years. Now she's having a tremendous year at LSU. And there were times earlier this year where you're like, And yesterday, go back and listen to Tony Green if you missed it. It'll be on the podcast reel and all the things we do. Assistant coach was talking about the backside of what was going on and how they didn't change who they were. They did not change who they were. They did not let peer pressure or the chatter bother them. And you're exactly right that they have just, listen, both of them. And Nikki's doing that with players, even though they're incredible, with Nalissa Smith and Queen and Sarah and others, and Jordan Lewis, who was already going to be here. She's been able to do and play their style, and it hasn't been the easiest fit. And here they are as they enter the month of March, playing better than they've played all year.
Right. I mean, it seems to be that way for both teams. And as well as, you kind of just have to hold your breath when you're watching both teams right now and just hope that there's no foul trouble. But it's an incredible run. We are so fortunate to have such great teams right now. When you look at Baylor, the renaissance from football to this, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's a long way from seeing games at the heart of Texas in the Cow Palace over there to what we're seeing today. It's fantastic.
I covered a couple of games where they were to do a couple of features when I was trying to get some young men that at the time had come out of high schools in East Texas, and I also came over and did a story on Terry Teagle, and yeah, you're right. The atmosphere there, the facilities, the amenities or lack of them, to what they have done now with the Farrell Center, and they've tweaked it at times, and what they're about to have. You don't build that pavilion without a reason, and the reason wasn't just because you had money. You built it because of success.
Right. We're just blessed to be what we're seeing right now. That's unbelievable. You guys do a fantastic job as well, and thank you all for being there on a daily basis during the week. We love it.
Thank you very much, man. We appreciate you. Those who listen to us on the app, those who listen to us online, those who listen to us by watching and listening on YouTube at 365 Sports, we appreciate you. We will have Evan Miyakawa today at 3:30 on various analytics when it comes to Baylor basketball. One of the stats he has is about the depth, and Baylor's taken that hit, of course, and somehow still survived with the injuries. We'll break that down with Evan today at 3:30.
All right, Matt in D.C., you're on Sick on 365 Radio. Thanks for your call.
Guys, thanks for taking my call today. Just a couple things. I think we can all agree that, the most successful businesses and sports teams from every level aren't maybe necessarily have the best talent or the most money. It's the ones that are willing to change and adapt when necessary. And I think that's the biggest thing we've seen with Scott Drew, as Paul, you said earlier, being willing to able and change and adapt, going from years past, we always had 6'7" guys, not really guard heavy, to changing to the guards. And then when Tristan Clark's goes down, changing our offense. This year, injuries have happened. It took us a while to basically change our offense, but now you kind of see all right, Akinjo's running it, Sohan moves to the 5. Everyone's willing to change and adapt because they want to be successful. So I think that's the biggest key this year, especially on the back end of the year. We're playing better than we have all year, even though we're missing Cryer and missing JTT. We're able to adapt, and as long as we're willing to change and adapt, I think this team's going to be successful no matter what. And then come Saturday, Iowa State, golden opportunity to hang another banner in the arena. And guys, if you look up at that Raptors, there are not too many banners hanging for the guys. There just isn't. So make history, but even more important, we win the Big 12 Conference on Saturday. You're going to lock in a 1 seed in the South, and that means home crowds for Fort Worth and home crowds for San Antonio. Take care of this opportunity. Get your home crowds for the tournament, because you will never have a better, easier route to the tournament going through Fort Worth and San Antonio. Thank you all.
Matt, thanks for your call in D.C. Appreciate that very much. Think about what he said. They all will do whatever is necessary because they want to be successful. Mm-hmm. Not just individually. In fact, they give up some things individually so the team can somehow figure it out. And that has not always been the case, even with what Scott Drew and this program have accomplished. And they were always kind of teasing you. And sometimes way over expectations, well above what they were supposed to be in 2008 or 2010 and a couple of other years. And now they're expected to win, and against anybody, no matter who it is, home, away, neutral, tournament, whatever. And yet they still now have players who could easily score 20 points elsewhere or even there at Baylor, and they're willing to give up some of those stats because of what allows them to be successful as a team. 254-339-1122, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Stephen in Virginia, thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. I think the most exciting thing about Baylor basketball this year has been the amount of adversity these young men have had to overcome. And then you sit here and think about the fact that they beat Kansas and Texas within 3 days. And the third game in that stretch is to play for a share of the Big 12 title. This is as exciting as it gets. And I'm just so proud of the men's team and the women's team. And Coach Collin has had to deal with so much unnecessary stuff. And in the end, she won a Big 12 title, and it's 12 in a row. I'll catch y'all later.
Stephen, thanks for your call in Virginia. Appreciate your time. Made it short, sweet, and to the point, right?
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Ryan in Frisco, thanks for your call. You're on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, anytime. So I hope I don't repeat some stuff that's said. I kind of missed some of the earlier meeting. I was on some meetings, but one thing comes to mind for this team, right? It was a comment made by Herb Brooks back in the show Miracle, right? I think, back for the USA team and even Baylor, I get the impression Baylor doesn't look for the best players. They look for the right players, right? And I think because, Drew and Tang and Jacobs and guys do that, when you lose your leading scorer, when you lose your top rebounder, when you lose time from Sohan, Flagler, Akinjo, etc., the right players come together, and this is what makes everything work together. And I think if you would have told any of us, you lose your leading scorer, leading rebounder, and everything that's happened, not only will we not be looking for back-to-back Big 12 titles or back-to-back one seeds in the tourney, we might be on the wrong side of the bubble. So I'll leave you guys with this. I've said it a few times. I think Drew and team are, on some of the top 5 coaches in college basketball with Coach K, Calipari, Self, and Izzo. And I don't have the data in front of me, but I think Drew has the same number of national championships as Calipari and Self, and that says a lot. So thanks for the call, guys. Thanks for everything you do.
Hey, man, thank you for the call. We appreciate your time and also you being a part of it every day along with everybody else, however you do digest what we do on Sikkim 365 Radio and also on 365 Sports. You think, Paul, that even when they were making some nice runs and they were a team that was kind of cute and cuddly and, hey, man, this might be a year they get to the Sweet 16 or the shocking run of 2008 and 2010 and then the disappointments of Florida Gulf Coast and Yale. And you remember the calls we just took about the passion, the energy, the excitement, both programs. The women have been good for 20 years. The men have been good really since about 2008 with rarely ever, other than disappointments in the tournament, they've always been pretty good. There's some teams that had to dig themselves out of holes in the Big 12. Think about the calls we just took as they enter a weekend where they have a piece to win the Big 12 championship and maybe outright.
Well, nobody has unreasonable expectations anymore. And nobody was comparing the team that was there to, they were in the Elite Eight last year. Oh, well, they should be in the Final Four this year. That's not really, in a sport like basketball that can lose players. Football, you can lose 2 guys and still be fine. Basketball, you lose 2 guys and you're screwed. Now they've got consistency. Yeah, things have changed. Nobody's calling up going, well, why aren't we on the Final Four yet? Because it's happened. They won a championship. It's all very different. Yeah.
Do you think that's success? Do you think once you try to get something so long, it almost becomes a burden. It almost becomes where it hypnotizes you. Oh, God, we can't win a Big 12 title. We can't win an SEC title. We can't win a national title. And then you do, doesn't? I know it's sometimes easier to get there than it is to stay there, to sustain it. It's hard to get there, and it's hard to sustain it. Some do, some don't. Most of them, there's only a chunk that do. Does it make it almost in a way easier because are we ever going to get to a Final Four? I'm talking about fan bases of any school. Are we ever going to get to the Final Four? Think about Arkansas men's basketball or Houston in '83 where they were so close and they've never won it.
Well, Arkansas had one of the best teams I've ever seen.
Yes.
And they haven't been back to that level since. It's hard to do. Look, Kansas, for all their greatness, hasn't won since 2008. It's really, really hard to do. It's really hard.
I mean, think about Kansas. Now, again, like you said, Bill Self, John Calipari. Calipari's been a part of some great teams, Memphis, UMass, and now, of course, he's at Kentucky.
Calipari hasn't won that since Anthony Davis.
That doesn't mean he's a failure. Now, some fans might say that because of where he's been. It's hard, and Baylor has one of those, and the women have 3. And the football team last year did what Craig has talked about many, many times. Could they ever finish? They won the Big 12 in 13. They won the Big 12 in 14, but they didn't finish with disappointing losses to Central UCF. And then, of course, the meltdown late against Michigan State. And then to be able to win it the way they did and then turn around and then win the bowl game against Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl, that is emphatic. And, yes, will they ever be a part of a semifinals or a playoff or whatever it expands to, whenever it does? You can't do it if you don't keep beating down that door. It's Bum Phillips when Houston could not beat Pittsburgh said, we just got to kick the door in. They were close. They were really close, but they never were able to do that. How close they were, and then they've never really been close since that time. All right, this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. When we come back, Evan Miyakawa, he has analytics and stats and much more from Baylor's depth. And what does it mean with Dale Bonner, who was supposed to have limited minutes, and now he has many minutes? What does that mean to the rotation? And also, who has the best depth? Who is the team that has the most 10-0 runs in basketball? And what does that mean? Is that the kill shot? This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Thanks for your calls, text messages, and back in a moment. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. A 48-foot walk-in humidor. Earlier today in my chat or text with my brothers, Robert, Michael, and Philip. Philip had a box of brand new cigars, and I believe they were Padron. And I mean a brand new box. And he was like showing it off to us in the text. He goes, I think I'm about to open this baby up. And he was going to smoke a cigar on the deck of his beautiful condo on the east coast of Florida. Man, I was jealous I wasn't there, and jealous that he had that kind of cigar. But if you want one, you can get those at Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. Tell Carol, Ashley, or Cheyenne that Smokey sent you. They have a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite brands of cigars. They have CBD products, including Vita Dreams. If you struggle to fall asleep, what would it feel like every morning when your alarm goes off not to want to hit snooze, or you had an extra 30 or 45 minutes of sleep and you feel better? On top of that, they have coffee beans. They can give to you fresh coffee beans or grind them in front of you, whatever flavor you want. It's Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center, Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Payments qualified buyers 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTN Electric, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, Evan Miyakawa, advanced analytics on college basketball at evanmiyakawa.com. It's Dr. Evan Miyakawa, and he's been on our show many times along with some networks as well, and he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Evan, thanks for your time. One of the latest graphics you have, I think, Armstrong, do we have it to put up while we're talking to Evan if we can? It was recently you mentioned which teams have the best depth. And not only do you list about 30 teams or so, whoever they are, you also have all these arrows of what teams are doing. And Baylor's off like third, but their depth, of course, has dropped a little bit with injuries and much more. What made you kind of get into this?
Yeah, so I think looking at depth from the perspective of which teams have the most impactful players, both at the top, how impactful is your best player, but then as you work your way down the rotation, is there a drop or are you still getting production from your bottom of the rotation guys? I think this graph is really interesting because for a team like Baylor, it shows that they have a huge gap between their most impactful player, which right now is rated as Matthew Meyer, but Adam Flagler is up there as well, James Akinjo. And then when you look at their eighth most impactful player in their rotation right now, due to injuries, it's Dale Bonner. And Dale Bonner, credit to him, he's played really well, but that's a significant step down from, say, if Flo Thamba is your eighth most impactful player, which is the rotation that they had before these injuries to Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua and now LJ Cryer being out. So it really illustrates that Baylor has some work to do in terms of maybe competing with other teams in a similar with similar ratings at the bottom of their rotation. You look at other teams like Gonzaga, Arizona, and even a team like Texas. They don't have the star power that Baylor does, but their rotation top to bottom is all pretty close. Chris Beard has a lot of guys who are very, very similar and can step in, and there's almost no drop-off in production. So I think the graph really illustrates some of these nuances, both in terms of star power, but also in terms of team depth.
Evan, when it comes to the tournament, how do you think that this will affect them matching up against other teams? Because there's not a lot of teams that really do go 8 deep, but if they found one that did, that could be a problem.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different things to consider. One is certainly foul trouble. Obviously, some teams can play a really short rotation, 7 guys. Villanova has done that a lot of years where they just have their best 7 and they run out there. But if you have a game where you're playing against a really tough team, a physical team, which you're often going to see in March Madness, and they're, putting you in situations where your guys are in foul trouble and you have to dip into that bench a little bit, that really becomes, something that you have to think about. And so I look at teams like this, and I'm looking for teams that both have star power, have guys that are big impact players, but then also teams that have what I would call a higher floor in terms of the rotation. And so I do think that Baylor, compared to some of these other teams that have similar metrics or resume, and be in a similar range in terms of seed, I do think it's a little bit worrisome that when they're going down and they're having a guy like Dale Bonner who hasn't played a minute of D1 basketball before this season, having him play significant minutes, I do think they are at a bit of a disadvantage compared to other similarly rated teams like, say, Kentucky, Kansas, Villanova, etc., when it comes down to more of these Sweet 16, Elite 8 matchups. That'll be something to watch.
You mentioned that, like, for example, Texas has better depth. They don't have some of maybe the elite players that Baylor has, but they have better depth. And yet in that game Monday, Evan, near the game's on the line, yeah, some of Baylor's stars took over, but they were able to grind through a tough physical game, even with some cases without the depth.
Yeah, I think the last 2 games for Baylor, they have been up against it, and they could have easily walked away from these games versus Kansas and Texas with 2 losses, and I don't think anyone would have faulted them for that. So to me, I think the big characteristic for this Baylor team right now is toughness and resilience. And I think you could argue they're the toughest team in the nation right now. Certainly there are a few other teams you could throw in there recently, like, Arkansas or Wisconsin or Providence. But I mean, Baylor's toughness and resiliency to, play really hard, especially in the game against Kansas, where it sort of reminded me the beginning of that game, like the national championship game last year, where Baylor just put Gonzaga to bed and they were never in it. That's how the beginning of the game felt for me on Saturday versus Kansas. And then Baylor fought back and earned their way back in that game, even without Jonathan Chama-Chachua, LJ Cryer. So I think their toughness really sticks out to me right now.
I love what you said, that they put Gonzaga to bed, because that's exactly what it was. Mm-hmm. It was like, all right, time for bed. Kids today probably argue with that. Back then, mom and dad said go to bed, you went to bed, right? I love the way you said they put Gonzaga to bed, because that's exactly, they put them to night pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, that was a dominant and opening stretch. And I mean, Gonzaga certainly, played hard the rest of the game, but Baylor never let them get a glimpse of a shot in that game. Whereas Baylor, on the opposite end of that, on Saturday, in a game where you could have expected them to, just give up, they fought their way back and they earned that one. So that to me is a great sign going forward.
Evan, when you look around nationally, there are, there's so much flux in the top 10, especially this last week. Does that tell you anything about how you think that they'll perform in the tournament, or what the tournament is going to shake out like?
Yeah, I think, Saturday was one of the most historic days in, college basketball regular season history, with the top 6 teams all losing, and Baylor somehow came through that unscathed. To me, that speaks to, number one, people have been discounting Baylor because of these injuries, and certainly I think if they don't have a healthy Cryer in the tournament, that's going to hurt. But I do think that this shows that they are as capable as any of these teams in, the top 8, top 10 to, make some noise in the tournament. You never know what's going to happen. I do think, if Cryer isn't healthy, right now I have Baylor rated as the 5th best team in the nation. But if you account for Cryer's injury right now, that drops them to 10th. So I think that lowers their ceiling a little bit. So that's a big piece. But I do think there's so many different teams that are all really close, and Baylor's right in the mix, for a national championship.
So you have this other graph, and I mean, I think maybe you're like a mad scientist, or like one of those guys in the lab with a beaker and chemicals. But you have all the, like, the kill shots, the 10-0 runs, which of course Baylor had a 9-0 run that put away Texas when that game was on the line, and what they did a couple of times to Kansas. Who right now? What are the percentages, Evan, when someone, no matter when, has a 10-0 run during a game?
Yeah, so this is something new I've started tracking this year, and I just think it adds a whole new dimension to the way that we watch games. So I have this term called a kill shot, which just means a team going on a 10-0 run or better. So when you score at least 10 points unanswered, how many teams are doing that, per game? And when a team has more kill shots in a game than the other team, they win 83% of the time. So that really speaks to, these teams that are able to go on scoring spurts and not allow them on the defensive end, they have a much, much better chance of winning the game. So, right now, Gonzaga leads the nation in kill shots. They have 36 of them total this season. That's about 1.3 per game. So they're more likely to have a 10-0 run than not in a game, which is pretty wild. Baylor is, a step below that, but they're in a group of these top teams from power conferences. They've had 27 of these kill shots this year and have only allowed 11. So they stick out to me as one of these teams that has the ability in any game to go on a scoring run, and they don't allow many of them themselves. So I think that speaks to the fact that, number one, like a game against Kansas where they're down, they're never out of it. They can always go on one of these scoring runs and bring themselves back in it.
Yeah, I would think, 10-0 run, it doesn't always mean you're going to win, but the odds are, the stats are, the trends are that, yeah. That was the thing. I can't remember. Did you do that last year on 10-0 runs at all? Because Baylor, Paul, you used to say this. If they ever got you 3 possessions down, how much it took to get back to 3 possessions back. But they used to go on these 8 to 10, 12-point runs that were dead.
Yeah, it was when they got to 8 points. It seemed like it was really hard to go 3 possessions in a row with stop score.
Yeah, I think that's a Scott Drew staple. he's got these Baylor teams going on runs and, not giving them up. And I think it speaks to, consistency year over year, that this has been a behavior that Baylor as a basketball team has had, not just this year, but in years in the past. I did only start tracking that this year, so I don't have the numbers from last year, but I would imagine that it's even more dominant from last year in terms of, going on these kill shots in games.
All right, from David Smoak on our chat room. Stephen from up in Ohio. Evan is off the charts, quite literally. Very interesting. So we appreciate that as well. So do you wake up in the middle of the night with a little sticky note or like one of those little recorders and say, okay, what about this? Is something that you get up the next day and start working on as a trend?
Yeah, well, as you know, I watch every single minute of every single college basketball game. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I do have, for every idea that I'm able to follow through on and, produce some graphic or add something to my site, there's always 4 more that I think about and put in the queue. So I'm always coming up with stuff.
Well, it's great. It's great. And earn the doctorate. What's it like now when people call you Dr. Miyakawa?
It's definitely different. It still feels unreal to a certain degree. So yeah, I'm just so thankful that I was able to, get that degree from Baylor, which has been an incredible school. And it's just been awesome.
Thank you, Evan. Appreciate it as always. Evan Mia, Miya, on Twitter. And also you can go online with Evan Miyakawa, what he does online with his charts and trends. So at Evan, Miya on Twitter. And then you could also go to Evan Mia, Miya.com for a lot of what he does statistically, trends, data, and we appreciate his time. We'll have Max Olson today just after 4 o'clock on some college football. Mickey at 4:30. The Combine really just started today. They've been out there. They've been there. But really today is when I think a lot of things start to happen. Craig Smoak's off the radar. He'll join us here momentarily. And then I don't know if we're going to have Eric Galko at 5 Optimum Scouting on, again, the NFL Combine and college football prospects. But King McClure will join us today, former Baylor guard who's now a part of ESPN and has his own podcast. He'll join us at 5:30 in Paul's Top 5. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza, give your fork something to brag about. Right now, the pizza bowls they have without the crust, try one today for $7.99 a pizza bowl. And medium specialty pizza, medium one-topping pizza and cheesy bread, $19.99. There's certain codes attached to all of these. And, in fact, thank you to Bob Mock. Bob Mock owns and runs 4, working on the 5th Marco's Pizza location in the Waco area, China Spring, Belmead, Woodway, and also in Robinson. And a new location that just went up in Robinson the last couple of months, and they're already working on the one about to open it up in Hewitt, just off of Hewitt Drive and I-35. And he is such a fan of what we do, and we're a fan of Marco's Pizza, that he put on his stickers, the ones that have all the coupons, what I've mentioned about the pizza bowls and more. The 2-sided sticker on the pizza box, what they have and the specials they have, and our show to promote what we do on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy, last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com.
U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Bob Williams, Auburn Tigers clinch 2022 SEC Men's Basketball Season Championship. Baylor has a chance to get a piece of it, maybe more this weekend. Texas Tech has a chance, and Kansas, of course, they still have a chance, and they were the ones kind of in the driver's seat, but things change, and a lot of it has been how the schedule has flipped. One, you can get yourself right back in it because you might play a more of a grinder schedule as if there's any openings in the Big 12 anyway. But maybe you start to play, for example, Kansas and then Texas or Baylor and Tech or whoever, and next thing you know, you're climbing up the charts. It's not like baseball, the NBA, 82 or 162 games, although baseball this year it won't be. But your schedule can help you get back in it, and you don't even realize it. And then it also can open up for you, where TCU beating Texas Tech and Kansas, it didn't vault them up into the top 2 or 3. They were too far deep. But it surely has put them in a position where their seeding's better.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, now you've got some quality. You some really good quality wins. And then TCU helping Baylor out is something that does not want to happen in any sport.
Some Baylor fans are having to wash their mouth out with soap because they've rooted for TCU.
Well, they're going to root for Texas on Saturday.
They want to.
They're root for TCU tonight and Texas on Saturday.
Yep.
So that's just what's going to happen. But
and it was interesting. Some Texas Tech fans were like, man, we need Baylor to beat Kansas. And then, I can't believe we said that. Ken Palm, update. Ready, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga won. This is Ken Palm, based on many things. Gonzaga's 1, Baylor 2, Arizona, Kentucky 3 and 4. Duke 5. And how about what you hear about ticket sales for Coach K, Cameron Indoor, and North Carolina? The average ticket or the lowest ticket is like $3,000. The average ticket is almost $6,500. So then there's some that are 8 to 10, 12,000 based on courtside. Here's the one that always kind of it's not a fly in the ointment, but when it comes to what you see when it is bracketology, Houston is 6. They're 25-4, and they just beat SMU. They're really good. They've had the injuries, Sasser among others. But they're 6th, and yet their quad 1 wins again are empty because of the schedule. But they're very highly ranked on KenPom. Auburn, UCLA, Kansas, and Texas Tech are in the top 10. All the rest of the top 10. And I'm trying to think of when they did the tournament back in the day, which for me, it could have been any time. Then you started hearing about quad 1 wins. And then they're like, okay, that's important, and there's quad 2 and all that. And then it was, of course, back, it was also RPI. That was a big deal, right? And it seems like we always make up new stuff. It's like there used to not be sacks in the NFL. And if they would have had NFL stats of sacks, then some guys would be the all-time sack leaders. And there was saves in baseball until, like the late 60s or so.
Yeah.
So, on the text line, I'm not even touching it here. On the text line, biggest surprises from the 254, Flo Thamba and Queen Egbo. Coach Colin ranks right up there as well if you want to include the coaches. Flo Thamba in the last couple of games has been a player I never thought I would see. I never thought I would ever see him be better than he was against Gonzaga.
Oh.
And I never thought I would ever see him be as important as he is right now on the offensive end.
Yeah, I think the biggest realization is he's finally knows now that you don't have to put it on the floor. You can just turn around.
You learn that early on, but when you're tall, sometimes you want to still bounce it or dribble it or whatever.
But you ever have a dog that jumps up on the couch when they're a puppy and then they get to be a big dog and they still try to sit in the same spot? They never knew. My sister has a dog, Ruger, who is a gigantic German Shepherd, and he will still come up and he wants to hug you like he's a little bitty puppy. Oh. But he stands up and he's as tall as me. I mean, he's a gigantic, on his hind legs, this huge dog.
With a name like Ruger, you better be a badass.
Yeah, but he wants to cuddle and hug you like he's a puppy, and you're like, dude, you're huge.
Yeah.
I think maybe Flo Thamba didn't quite realize that he's not a puppy anymore. And so he's now just turning around and being a dog. And that's what he's doing.
You know what? I love the fact that he still wants to be a puppy.
Yeah, everybody should.
He still has a heart.
But you see what happens, though, when he starts barking. I mean, when he starts going, it's Gonzaga. It's the last 2 weeks. When he gets that intensity going, he's a completely different player.
Scotty B., who is, as we think, maybe as good a Baylor fan, and there are some that are great Baylor fans, even some that at times we haven't always agreed with, or, for example, Chris Fuentes, and not that we have disagreed with him. T-Rex is crazy passionate. Scotty B is going to be honored. He's a part of the chat room. He's part of the text. Scotty B will tweet us with something that comes up with anything that matters in college athletics. He's going to be honored this week on Saturday during the Baylor men's game as the Baylor Baylor's biggest fan. And even some in the chat room go, yeah, basically a lot of us have kind of gotten to know you and realized that as well. So that's pretty cool as well. From Steven, off the subject, 70 degrees in Northwest Ohio Saturday, unheard of in early March. Back to reality Monday, it's 40. Rain and snow. I think we're starting to see a little bit of there'll be a snap all the way into early April, Easter, whatever it is. But man, today the weather the last couple of 3 or 4 days has been absolutely spectacular. Craig Smoak is on his way from getting the car checked. He'll be here for the 4 o'clock hour. Max Olson, Mickey Spagnola, Craig's off the radar. And I want to get into maybe at 5 o'clock. I was contacted by Alan Thomas. He writes for a sports and leisure website in Louisville. And there has been, and I bring this up because he even put something up where he had a couple of quotes from Baylor insiders. None of the quotes, as far as the quotes that he put up, were from me, but I'm going to share his direct message to me and my response back to him on what there is chatter. As Baylor fans would never know what it's like if one of their elite coaches wasn't somebody else wanted. And we'll have that at 5 o'clock from him, Alan Lewis, who covers Louisville. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 1943. Think about this. Most of you were never born. I was born in 1959, and I'm still not old enough to when they opened the doors and started their business at Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan. And what they specialize in, product, pipe, steel, metal, heavy duty, what you need to build things, commercial or real estate. Building a brand new location in Waco, and it will be bigger, better, faster, stronger, but will always have what is the core of who they are, which is customer service. But you don't make it this long, nearly 80 years, just because you have great customer service. You don't make it that long. Some businesses have been run out of business, no matter how good they were, how important they were, or how local they were, because it's about price and distribution and product. But customer service along with that, that's how you stay in business since 1943. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, Waco and Bryan, pioneerboys.com.
This month, it's all about the championship drive as our hometown team celebrated the Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl win. So can you in your new vehicle from Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco. During the President's Day sales event, shop for power, performance, and reliability from our selection of the new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Are you planning your next adventure? Choose from a range of Jeep models, including the 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Take home the trophy from Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automatichefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus. And best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects. With 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
On 2nd and 15 as they're chopping down on his legs, and then they take him down high as well. Ika finished it.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go on this 4 o'clock hour. Max Olson, theathletic.com, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Max, I was going through the updated transfer portal, and I kind of forget that they have to still abide by the same dead period or whatever, I guess, as those who are being recruited elsewhere, high school players. But I saw this number 10 and 11, Grayson and Gabriel Murphy, the twins at North Texas. How good are they?
Yeah, 2 of the better young pass rushers in Conference USA. And North Texas has lost a couple of their better players to the portal, as a lot of G5 schools had this offseason. But yeah, the Murphy twins, very talented guys, and they are going through this recruitment together. Whenever they get an offer, they announce it together. Hey, we've been offered by this school, and they're certainly going to be going to the next school together. Which I'm sure for some schools that are tight on spots makes it a little bit tricky, but very productive years as pass rushers this year. And, they've been offered by USC and some big Power 5 programs and stuff, so interested to see where they end up.
Max, what did you make of how the Art Briles situation unfolded last week and into this week?
I mean, you guys asked me about it last week, and I think the thing I said was that from everyone I kind of talked to, over the years, the term they always use was radioactive, and I think you kind of saw what that looks like here, where, I wouldn't say that, Jackson State went about this a very good way. I think if you're going to, Grambling State, don't think they went through it a very good way. Like, if you're going to try to make this hire, clearly you need all the stakeholders on board with it. And I think that the pushback from Doug Williams was important in this. I think that clearly from a PR standpoint, you have to do a lot better job than they did. And, I think that if you go about that hire, in a shady way, then I think people are going to respond to that. It's not going to go well for you. So, do I think he'll get another chance? I really don't know. I think that this falling apart within a couple of days is probably going to scare off a lot of schools from trying to make that move.
Yeah, and you keep thinking, okay, this is the last chance, and then somebody else. And I wish that if it would have worked out, I think it could have worked out had Grambling's AD positioned this better and maybe met with those, even whether it's Doug Williams and they may have had a couple of conversations or whatever. There has to be a way to sit in the room rather than text messages and phone calls, right? Or even, hey, we're going to do this. We really think this is what we need to do, and here is why. And if they say no, then you just go about your business and you go after somebody else.
Yeah, and of course, we don't really know how many times this has really happened where he's gone after one, or maybe there's been interest on one side and it's just been shut down. But I'm sure that at this point, Art Briles has had that door slammed on him a lot. So I really don't know if you can't get it done at the FCS level, and we saw Southern Miss tried to do it a few years ago too. I really don't know. I think that probably as much as Hugh Jackson is a friend of his, and I'm sure really wanted to pull this off. I think you're just seeing that. I think the backlash is just really significant, and I think these leaders that are trying to make him try to pursue a hire there. Certainly are not making the case to the public at all that Art Briles deserves to be on a college campus.
Max, I did a top 5 list the other day, and I said that one of the teams I thought was going to take a significant jump this year was Nebraska. Now, Smokey as scarred as he is, completely poo-pooed it and said he's not going to believe it until he sees it. But my theory behind it is this, and I'd like to test it against you. Scott Frost is in a corner. He's had to – the Adrian Martinez codependent dysfunctional relationship is over now. They're going to have a true competition at quarterback, and more than likely Casey Thompson wins that. Mark Whipple is there. They've got a special teams coach. They lost a bunch of close games last year that were due in large part to mistakes on special teams or Adrian Martinez. All those seem to be maybe improving. I'm not saying they're going to win the Big Ten, but I don't know. It sounds like a team that could take a big step forward to me.
Yeah, I think that the thing that's tricky with them is there's just, like, you mentioned a bunch of them, but like they've added a lot of pieces. They've added a lot of transfers, and they have a lot of their freshmen, enrolled early, and they've added 5 coaches and addressed some of the issues. And the question is, and Scott Frost, I was there on Monday when they had their presser, and Scott Frost, admitted it from the start. It's like, we've got all these pieces, but that doesn't make a team. Like, we've got to figure out how to put this all together and actually, form a successful thing here. And so I'd say there's a long way to go. And that is not a team that returns like a bunch of like fifth-year senior captain type guys. It's a real... a lot of those guys went pro, either early or they graduated or whatever. So there's just a lot of moving parts of that Nebraska team. Now, you could just look at last year's record and say they shouldn't have been as bad as they were. That a lot of those coin tosses that didn't go their way, those really close games. If you flip a bunch of those, then they're at least a bowl team and maybe a 7-8 win team. But man, they just have a ton of work to do, and I would probably err on the side of caution with Smoak.
Yeah, I just, I'm numb to it now, honestly. And I know they have Whipple, and I saw the story you wrote about getting the ball in the best player's hands. I mean, I don't know why you have to have him tell you that. I mean, that I thought that was football 101.
But see, the point of that is that, like, so the past few years that he's been an OC, his thing is like, I'm going to have that receiver that catches 100 passes. I have no idea who that person is in Nebraska. Like, they just don't have experience at that spot. They don't have a stud at running back. They were pretty bad on the O-line, and they've got a quarterback situation that's up in the air there. So they like Casey Thompson, but there's just a lot of question marks there, and I kind of lean in terms of I'll believe it when I see it a little bit.
Okay, Max Olson, theathletic.com, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. So who benefits the most with the transfer portal? Division I or FCS teams who get the elite or the better players from the level below? Or do they, the ones from FBS, get anybody that's below them that's pretty good? Because I wouldn't think those are as impacted players that maybe are going to the other schools at the highest level.
Yeah, the food chain of that's pretty interesting because there's definitely Group of 5 programs that would probably say, man, the portal was brutal. We lost some very good, all conference type players over this offseason. But this is how it is now. You just have to replace those guys with other players in the portal, and certainly a Group of 5 program can benefit and take Power 5 or even ex-FCC players and kind of have some of those projects of guys that hadn't worked out for them so far, or they haven't got the playing time they need or whatever. And you can benefit that way if you embrace it. But, certainly the ones that benefit the most, you've got some of those, you've got some of the national title contender teams that add 2, 3, 4 really, really talented guys like Alabama has and Ohio State has. But, certainly it's the programs that are chasing, 8, 9, 10 transfers in one off season. Those are the interesting ones because you kind of feel like those could go either way. But certainly those schools like Florida State or Ole Miss that have gone heavy on them, it's going to be fascinating to watch how quickly it pays off.
Yeah, desperation can be a stinky cologne.
I think we lost you.
What happened here?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Desperation can be a stinky cologne there, Max, when it comes to the transfer portal, or like you said, it can work out. One of the guys in
there's also schools that are not usually in that. Like, so USC and LSU have taken a ton of transfers this offseason, and that's because they've got new coaching staffs that are trying to plug needs and stuff. And we're going to see, are those players actually good enough to play at those schools, or are they just kind of taking players just to take players? There's some schools that have been more invested in it this offseason that you wouldn't expect, and I'm curious to see how that pays off.
Do you have any clarity on Jaden Daniels and where he might start looking?
No, not so far. It's been pretty quiet with him and with JT Daniels. I think that there was a rumor, I want to say a week ago, that Jaden Daniels was looking at Missouri, and he shot that down, said, I'm not committed anywhere. I'm still
open in my recruitment. I know that there were reports at the time when he went in the portal that he was talking to a bunch of Pac-12 schools. I'm not sure how many of those actually have a need at QB, but sometimes when a guy like that becomes available, then you're willing to give up what you got. So that one is still that one's still uncommitted and going to be pretty interesting.
Do you feel like now the transfer portal for quarterbacks, and I know Caleb Williams, Dart, Cameron Ward, who you love a lot and have talked about him quite a bit, it's almost like college prospects at quarterback where people need them so badly that some are going to be reaches?
Yeah, I think so. And last offseason wasn't as crazy. I mean, there was, certainly Bailey Zappi had an amazing year and Hendon Hooker worked out. Jack Cohen was fine. There were some solid pickups last year, but really not to the level that we've seen this offseason where you've got, truly you've got 5-star guys and top 100 guys that are going in the portal and making changes. And there's just a real game of musical chairs going on this offseason. And will all of those work out? I mean, no, probably not, whether it's injuries or guys that are maybe going to the wrong offenses or going to the wrong coaches, or even guys that are going into situations where maybe they still have to compete for a job and maybe they don't win that job. But, this offseason was definitely way more significant in terms of turnover at the QB position. And, for a school like Baylor, I think you feel pretty good about what you got, obviously. But it's always interesting to monitor that. And maybe there are guys that go in that you just wouldn't expect.
Yeah, I'm constantly fascinated by the fact that Baylor, and again, it could still happen, but these last couple of years, they have not lost guys in the portal. I mean, Dave Aranda's kept them there, and they're no different than anybody else that has guys that aren't playing or think they could maybe, play more somewhere else.
Yeah, and in the case of Jacob Zeno, obviously, like that's a player that wants to play, and it makes sense for him to move on and stuff. But no, you're right. I mean, Baylor's been pretty immune to all of that. I mean, it made sense when Charlie Brewer moved on the way he did, but obviously he put in 4 years at Baylor, so that's kind of a different deal. But yeah, no, I think that certainly when you look at depth in the QB room, it's really hard to have that right now. And Baylor's one of those schools where you'd say, man, we really like 3 or 4 guys we got in this room here.
Yeah, I wonder if it's also a relationship. It's about playing time. It's just like free agents, they all say it's not about the money, and most of the time, 9 out of the 10 times it is. Is playing time the main reason? Is that the main reason people enter the transfer portal?
I mean, if we're talking the QB position, yeah, it's playing time, or it's, a lot of times what we see is just kind of, you have that one setback in your career, and you look at, Dylan Gabriel, for example, this year, you wouldn't have expected Dylan Gabriel would be leaving UCF, but, one thing goes wrong, he gets injured, misses most of the season, a freshman steps up, and he feels like between that and having gone through a coaching change there, you feel like, okay, it's time for me to find something else. And so we see a lot of that, and there's certainly the ones like Caleb Williams are super rare and unique, and same with Quinn Ewers, but, in a lot of cases, it's players who, whether they've started or not. I mean, it's certainly for a lot of these players, if you're not getting that playing time in the first 2 years at quarterback, you're going to leave. But, we've also seen some veteran proven guys that things just didn't, like Spencer Rattler, things just didn't kind of bounce the way they thought they would this year. And so you make a change.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate your time. Max Olson, Thursdays, 4 o'clock, theathletic.com with us. And as we mentioned yesterday, and it was a thread on Sikkim 365 Premium about the subscription, it's well worth it because of the writers. I did see this, and I was going to ask him one more question. Jason Kersey, who has done a really, really, really good job of covering Oklahoma for The Athletic, I saw where today he put up one of those career move threads that he's getting out of writing, getting out of the business. Said he needs to just get away. And he actually mentioned he was, I believe, going to go and try to become an attorney. And so that was, and I saw where Max responded to him. I know that those two are pretty close, but that's one of those stories that from theathletic.com did a great job. A lot of great writers. We've had a lot of them. And it's one of the few, again, that to me is, other than Sikkim365.com, which I am a member because I work under the umbrella, The Athletic is one that I do pay a subscription for. When we come back, Mickey Spagnuolo eventually at the bottom of the hour, he will join us. Craig is on his way, as I mentioned, and in the background today, it's not as pretty as when Faith is here, is it, Armstrong? Just not the same. She'll be here tomorrow, but we do appreciate Emery, Jack, and Armstrong for being here, running the mothership. Paul, Catalina, David Smoak, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. The NFL Combine really just started. It's been a kind of a part of what's going on in Indianapolis, but today is the day things start to kick in. Mickey is with us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Stephen Jones, Mike McCarthy, they have spoken. Jerry at some point will as well, and Mickey joins us. Mickey, anything said from either Stephen Jones, Mike McCarthy, personnel-wise, or anything else that has caught more of your attention than others?
Well, I think from a personnel standpoint,
they sort of pointed out that they got a lot of work to do. Not only managing the salary cap, but managing 21 unrestricted free agents, and really emphasizing, especially Steven, that there's so many moving parts that they've got a lot of stuff to do to get done by March 16th, when the salary cap goes into effect on the top 51 salaries on your roster, along with the start of free agency, the trade season opens. A lot of people's contracts start guaranteeing in 5 days. So I thought Steven really emphasized that. I think from Mike McCarthy's standpoint, talking about, that they're going to have to put a huge emphasis on trying to better manage their penalties. They ended up leading the league with 127. But get this, you guys, and this one caught me by surprise, and I just kind of happened to run across it. While the Cowboys had 127 penalties in the 17 regular season games, their opponents had 121. Now, how do you figure that out?
Well, they played the Raiders once.
Well, yeah, but the Cowboys had as many penalties as the Raiders did, right? But from a total, they also played 16 other teams, and they only had 6 more penalties than the teams they played. And I had a hard time trying to figure out what that means. Like, did they go up against a bunch of teams with maybe officiating crews that called a lot of penalties? It just didn't make sense to me. And of the top 4 teams in the league with the most penalties, it was the Cowboys first, and then 3 of their opponents. So yeah, that was a strange one. But anyway, that was one of the things they obviously need to emphasize from McCarthy's standpoint. We certainly didn't know that Dak Prescott had surgery to his non-throwing shoulder. It was arthroscopic. It was termed a cleanup, so he should be good to go when they start their off-season work. But the one that nobody's talked about, and I guess it was just reported today at Dallas Morning News, that Blake Jarwin had hip surgery, and there's a chance that he wouldn't be ready to play this year, which complicates their free agency and roster, because if he's not good to go, and Dalton Schultz is an unrestricted free agent along with Jeremy Sprinkle, they got Sean McEwen, and that's it at tight end. And so that causes another problem they got to take care of, not to mention, the free agency problem at defensive end, the free agency problem at wide receiver, the free agency problem at linebacker, and the safety position. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting 2 weeks for the Cowboys.
Listening to Steven the other day, and I do want to talk about tight end in a second, Mickey, but listening to Steven Jones the other day, it wasn't, and we've talked about this, if you do let go of DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper, like, okay, that's clearly for salary cap reasons, because roster-wise, you still are now having to sign somebody to take their place, no matter what, because you've got to have somebody that's going to be there. Not only are they free agents, but the guys who are their backups are now free agents. But he did kind of seem to strike a tone to me that, like, maybe say, look, we're ready to make tough decisions, and if the roster looks drastically different, then the roster is going to look drastically different.
And it'll be drastically worse, right?
Yeah, it would be.
And so I think we talked about it last week, they're going to have to bite the bullet and restructure some contracts and push some money down the road to create room on the salary cap. And they'll start with Dak Prescott. I mean, they already know they're restructuring that because they put a voidable year in his contract automatically so they can use 2026 and prorate his restructure bonus over 5 years. So that's really the first thing they got to do, and they're going to have to do it with some other players because you can't just get rid of everybody because you got to replace them, right? And there's no guarantee that, you're going to hit in the draft, and you say, okay, well, my second round pick can start at safety. My third round pick can start at wide receiver. It doesn't work that way. And so you start releasing guys that you mentioned, you're walking into the unknown, because you don't know what's going to happen in free agency if you can re-sign any of the guys you need to sign with. And I think we just got an idea of the breadth of the problem they have on this roster with 21 unrestricted free agents and some salary cap. I mean, some salaries that are really hovering over their salary cap.
I remember in the 90s and they were so damn good, and they had won those 3 Super Bowls, and they had a lot of stars, and they had to restructure over and over and over again. But they were trying to get that one more ring in a special decade. And it eventually cost them, because it's a credit card. You have to pay it off, and there's a high interest to that. This is a franchise that's been tapping, touching, kicking the door, but still trying to get even to the championship game. Is there any similarities at all?
I think it was different back then, David, because they were trying to re-sign their guys and keep the stars, and they lost the depth on the roster. I think back then they didn't have this mechanism that you can sign players to restructure contracts. They were re-signing guys whose contracts were up. Now, when you get as I mentioned last week, you get a contract like DeMarcus Lawrence with a $19 million base salary. Well, you can pay him a restructure bonus and then take that and prorate that bonus over the rest of the life of the contract. And the way you're looking at it now is in 23, 24, 25, the salary cap's going to go up. So that allows you to absorb some of that money you're pushing down the road. But again, what you don't want to do is push money down the road if you think a player's production is not getting pushed down the road, right? That it's almost like, well, I don't know how much longer we can go with this. So that enters into the conversation. But back then, they were just trying to re-sign guys that had expiring contracts. The problem now is the contracts they signed the guys, and the problem that COVID caused with the salary cap having gone down last year, and this year's cap is probably what should have been last year's, and this year's should have been more, and it won't go up until the new TV contract comes up. So it's caused problems for a lot of teams. I was I don't remember if I brought my right piece of notebook here with me, but look at some of the teams that are struggling at quarterback. Look at what's going on in Houston right now with the amount Deshaun Watson would cost Houston with a guaranteed contract, right? And if he's on the roster at the start of the league year, it automatically guarantees his base salary next year, and they have to pay a $17 million roster bonus immediately. So, the Cowboys aren't the only ones. Look at what the Saints did. They restructured, I think, 3 contracts to try to get under the salary cap, and they're still over. And they opened up a lot of money. So it's just kind of the way of doing business right now. And, with everybody kind of struggling at this stuff, free agency, this could be the Wild West this year, starting March 16th.
To tight end, with the issue with Blake Jarwin, and the report was that it was an injury that's not normal to football players, and he could be out for a considerable amount of time to start the year. With Dalton Schultz, does that make him maybe now a franchise candidate that maybe they would not have done before?
If you can open up $11 million, yeah. And that's pretty pricey for a tight end, but he may be your starting tight end, and you may look at it differently. You're exactly right. And then again, what they wanted to do all along is work with him to try to get a long-term deal done before free agency begins. So, or before the franchise tag deadline, which is March 7th or 8th. So we're next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think. So maybe that ups the ante on getting a long-term deal done. Otherwise, if you got room under the cap, because remember when you do a franchise tag, you got to fit the guy under the cap come March 16th. Then that could buy you time to continue to work on a long-term deal. And so it'd be interesting to see, because you know what? If I'm Dalton Schultz and they tag me, I'm signing it as soon as I can, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
$11 million guaranteed, absolutely, and so I wouldn't dilly dally with that one. But they can continue to work on even if he doesn't sign it, they'll continue to work on a long term deal. They understand his value, and then you just have to look in free agency, and now that you've got another priority in the draft, and everybody wants to know 2 months before the draft. Well, what's your priority? Well, priorities change daily. In the NFL, it seems.
Mickey, this may be a question that I answer it myself. I hope not. But when you do Dak Prescott's contract or anyone like that that's going to be just monstrous, do they go into that with the knowledge of setting it up so they can – obviously, any contract can be restructured. But do they go into it at all where they have these things kick in where they know they're going to restructure it pretty quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, just take last year. See, they ended up, when they did his contract, it was a 4-year deal, but it's over 6 years. So they put 2 bogus, voidable years in the contract. So number one, you could prorate the signing bonus over 5 years, and they actually restructured the first base salary of that contract. And then prorated it over 5 years, including the 2025 voidable year. So they already did that. I think last year they saved, it was around 13 million. And then in that contract, they put a voidable 2026 season in there. So really there's no base salary, and there's an automatic void. If you're on the roster in 2023, then it voids 2026, right? And so they put that in there because they knew this year they were going to restructure his $20 million base salary. So yes, you're absolutely right. And teams have started to do that with voidable years, so they can automatically restructure. And it's basically a great thing for the player, because he didn't have to wait to get paid 1/17 of his base salary weekly. He gets the money up front immediately right now. So yeah, do you want your $20 million over 18 weeks of the season, or do you want 17 million of it today? And they're like, well, yeah, give me the 17 million today, right? So yes, to answer your question, they absolutely do that.
Mickey Spagnuolo.
And David, Let me add this, and they also do it with the idea that with escalating base salaries, that the salary cap's going to also escalate, right? And that's where 2020 got a lot of teams in trouble, because they had escalating base salaries and the cap went down for the first time in history. And they still haven't caught up, and they won't catch up until next year when the new TV contract kicks in.
All right, Mickey, thank you, man. Appreciate your time. Mickey Spagnuolo with us, NFL, Cowboys, DallasCowboys.com on Thursdays in the 4 o'clock hour. We will have King McClure today in about an hour. Former Baylor guard. He's actually, from what I was told, practicing against the team. And Scott Drew wanted him to practice against the team today with the bodies or lack of them, because even some of the guys he didn't expect to play at all have been injured even during this season, among some of the guys that have been well-known names that are injured. So King McClure is working out against the team. He'll join us today at 5:30 if Scott Drew lets him go. That might be, he might ask to kind of work on an extra year of eligibility or an extra month of eligibility. When we come back, Craig Smoak is back. He's here, off the radar, next on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. I was just there, just over at Richard Carr, talking to Donnie. Second time in the last few months, had an incident on I-35. First time had a
Well, a very angry driver, a lot of road rage out there. He hit me, and out of frustration, and that all got taken care of by Richard Carr. Got my car all fixed up, and Donnie and company did a great job. But I was back there again today because last week, driving down I-35 with all the construction, a rock or some debris kicked up, knocked a piece out of a part of my windshield bracket and knocked it loose. And so had to go over there because I know that I can go over there and trust the people that are that I'm dealing with and the people that are working on my car. And so now I'm all squared away, got my car appointment scheduled, and a big thank you to Donnie and all the good folks over at Richard Carr. And that's what they'll do for you. Customer service. They are number one in that category, but of course their main mission is to sell cars and to provide great service with those cars. And right now they have a lot of great deals over at Richard Carr. It's of course been a little bit jammed as far as the car supply issues in this country and around the world, but that has not stopped them from rolling out great deals, rolling out great offers, and continuing to roll out great customer service. If you've been waiting to buy a new GMC, Buick, or Cadillac, right now you can get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list to get your new car or truck as soon as they arrive. They've got great options, whether it's the SUVs, 11 different models from GMC, Buick, and Cadillac brands. Not only 11 different models, but then dozens of trim options on top of that as well. Richard Carr is a one-stop shop to find the perfect SUV for your needs. They've got the Buick Encores. They've got the sophistication and luxury of the Cadillac Escalades. SUVs starting at $24K. Call now, come by now, or go online to find the perfect SUV for your family. And they're also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. They've all gone under a 172-point inspection, and they have over 10 lenders at the dealership who will do what it takes to get you in a car today. It's 100% credit approval is always the goal. So trust the good local people you can count on for over 20 years in Central Texas, and trust me when I say that Richard Carr has been a blessing in terms of a couple of accidents that I've had to get taken care of. My car's come back brand new, and they will do the same for you. Proud Wacons and proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Payments for qualified buyers, 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTN Electric, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim365.com. Taking a look at some just stories that are a little bit off the map, or maybe very much on the map, and we just don't get to them because they're not Baylor or Cowboys or whatever related locally. So I'm actually going to start off with a very local note. Do y'all see Gary Bohannon going viral today?
Yes.
Yeah.
My gosh.
610-pound squat. The video was put up on the Baylor athletic performance account, and I got to admit, watching it, I see a lot of the comments, and people are scared for his knees, and they're scared of hernias, and scared of, and there's the amateur strength coaches who are trying to point out, the tips and everything like that. I actually saw the Baylor strength account, respond back to one of the, professional trainers and put him in his place pretty quick on a video they posted the other day, which was funny. But yeah, Gary Bohannon, there's a video out today. He's squatting 610 pounds. He's able to get it up, and I don't know, it's just cool. I saw Barstool was tweeting about it, which was just kind of random. So, yeah, I was curious if you guys had seen that. But potential QB1, of course, he'll be dueling with Blake Shapen this offseason.
Well, and I saw where Shapen had some kind of big number he put up as well.
Also, just understanding that people can get hurt in the weight room and working out, it happens all the time. But the strength coaches who are put there to improve and protect the commodity in the offseason are – the sign of a bad strength coach is someone who lets the guys get hurt because they're not responsible. It looked like they had everything under control. Yeah. So, they always do.
Oh, the response the other day when some guy was talking, I don't remember who the player was. They were doing squats or something, and some trainer, was like, well, actually, you shouldn't be blah, blah, blah. And they just responded back. They're like, well, actually, the knees are fine and this is fine. And there was no response, I don't think, to that. So, yeah, I think Vic Valoria knows what he's doing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's also not something that they just did today.
No.
I think you can get 6'10". You think you can get 6'10"? Put 6'10" on there.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. It's a gradual build.
Yeah, so that was just cool to see that's kind of going viral today. So, yeah, good for Gary Bohannon, and it will be very interesting to see how the quarterback competition shakes out with him and Blake Shapen throughout this spring, and I wouldn't be surprised, I don't know about you guys, if that's another thing where it's all the way to week 1 of next year before they announce it. Now to College Station, where not such a good story today for Texas A&M football, or at least for a Texas A&M football player. Damon Demas, if you follow recruiting, then you recognize the name, I would imagine, because if you follow recruiting, you heard about him a couple years back constantly. He was one of the top-rated 5-star, wide receiver, best players in the country. In his class, he was a huge land for A&M, had schools from all over the country, coming after him. I remember when they were doing, I don't know if it was the All-American game maybe, and, there was videos of him doing backflips during one of the practices. The athleticism was just completely off the charts, and there was very, very high hopes for this young man, but probably not so much now. Damon Demas, announced today by A&M, was arrested on a family violence assault charge that occurred on Saturday evening, per the Houston Chronicle. Demas has been suspended from Texas A&M University and is not currently with the football program. According to the statement, Brazos County Sheriff's Office said the alleged victim was Demas's girlfriend. The report states the defendant, Demas, pushed her head into the wall. She bit him on the shoulder, and she reported that the defendant then grabbed her, threw her from off the bed onto the floor, which caused her top front teeth to go through her bottom lip. So that was according to her statement. They've been in a relationship for over a year. He's being held in Brazos County Jail, but had been released on bond by the time this had been posted. And his attorney, Tony Busby, I feel like we hear that name quite a bit. But
he represented Deshaun Watson, right?
No, he's Deshaun Watson's victims.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
that's right. That's probably why.
That's
then,
right.
yeah.
That's
So Tony Busby released a statement. He said that they learned about a warrant and the arrest yesterday. He insisted upon turning himself in quickly, which he did. He's been accused of a misdemeanor and now released on bond, and he says that they look forward to demonstrating it's all an unfortunate misunderstanding, and he clears his name. But he had a domestic dispute previously in 2020 with another girlfriend, and the wild part about this has now led to further arrests.
Yeah.
Involving a former NFL player and a former A&M wide receiver. Because as it turns out, the young woman in question is the daughter of former NFL and A&M wide receiver Robert Ferguson. And today, apparently, Robert Ferguson and his wife are in custody after police said that they attacked Damon Demas on the university's campus. Campus police told KRHD the couple attacked the Aggie player on his way to a Title IX hearing. Authorities said officers took Robert Ferguson, former Packer and A&M football player, and his wife into custody, misdemeanor assault, and it rehashes kind of what happened. So there's not really, so far that I've seen, and I haven't had time here in the last hour or so to go look further, but that's basically all I've seen at this point. I don't know if there's further details about the altercation on campus or not, but yeah, what a kind of wild story for Texas A&M, but really for Damon Demas. And
we brought up Velasquez, right, and what he did by
Cain
shooting
Velasquez,
into and he shot into a car, and he ended up hitting the wrong person, the stepfather of someone alleged to have molested a relative. And I asked you guys about what would it take for you to snap, and how do you hold back from that? And then there's a case here where a father and mother attack somebody who's been charged with domestic violence or whatever the various terms are, and you just wonder about the rage level. And so and he's had trouble before. And I want to say this because I've seen a little bit of this A&M, and if you are a college fan, and we have to do this on occasion, It doesn't mean the entire place is a dumpster fire. It doesn't mean that everybody on that football team is full of a bunch of idiots or thugs or criminals. I see that already, and I know that they're easy to be attacked right now because they had the number one class and they're trying to get a little bit better. And so I
look, the wheel of crap when it comes to these things has no predetermined path. It doesn't mean everybody. It's going to spin to you, and
if you get a couple, 3 or 4 more that are involved in that, then it starts to be a bunch. Then you start to wonder about the rats in the kitchen.
Yeah, you do. So we will see what happens. But Damon Demas suspended, and obviously Robert Ferguson. He played at Tyler Junior College, where I'm from, and so I remember him vividly. He's a great pro as well. But Paul. I mean, just not harping on this too much, but Demas obviously is a very well thought of athlete, and somebody that A&M thought was going to come in and be like a 3-year and done, top 10 type NFL draft pick sort of guy.
Yeah, and you watch A&M and he doesn't, I cannot remember, and there might have been a play like he might have scored against one of the FBS opponents or something like that, where I'm like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, he had like 15 catches, 280 and a touchdown.
But again, 15 catches, 280 and a touchdown. They expected more from him, especially at this point in his career. He's not a true freshman anymore by a long shot. So he should have been contributing, especially in an offense that spreads the ball around a lot.
Yeah, so there's a little update on that. The Arizona Cardinals have reached contract extension agreements with GM Steve Heim as well as head coach Cliff Kingsbury. Each is now under contract, according to the team, through the 2027 season. Has Cliff Kingsbury been better, about what you expected? I don't know how he could really be worse, quite frankly. But what have y'all thought about Cliff Kingsbury's journey from Tech to the NFL?
I think he's been better than I thought he'd be. I mean, he still hasn't really done much yet. But then again, if you really believe the Cardinals believe in him, then giving him extension and leaning into what he's doing is the right thing. Now they have a bigger fish to fry in that Kyler Murray's in his feelings right now, but I'm sure they'll figure that out.
Do you know how hard it is to win in the NFL?
It's very hard.
What Tom Belichick and, like Don Shula and Tom Landry.
Bill Belichick.
Those guys did, it really made it look like it's easy. But I'd say 3/4 of most head coaches in the NFL eventually leave, fired, or retired with losing records. Cliff Kingsbury is 24-24-1, which in the NFL is not bad, especially since he's only been there for 3 seasons. I think he deserves an opportunity to let this thing run its course. I know last year was a disappointing finish, but at least they showed that they're on their way up perhaps to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out the Kyler situation, but there's no team that doesn't deal with something similar at some point in time, especially when you've got a pretty good quarterback. To the NBA, did you guys see Ja Morant the other night against the Spurs?
52?
Yeah, and the dunks and just everything, the buzzer beater right before halftime where he caught the inbounds pass and just touched it enough to propel it to score right at the end of the half. Well, he scored 52 the other night against the Spurs. He's one of the hottest young players in the NBA. He's in year 3, and the other night, I mean, he just had everybody just up in arms over his performance. Well, this is not something I usually touch on, but I mean, social media is becoming, more and more and more of a factor in pretty much everything. And the NBA Instagram page stays pretty active, as you might imagine. Ja Morant's buzzer beater the other night versus Spurs is the NBA's most watched Instagram video ever.
It was a halftime shot, right? Was it at halftime?
Yeah, but I don't know. It still is a great shot.
No,
but
that's amazing because you would think dozens of incredible shots, especially with those guys.
It was. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just think I think people are starting to. I think the Bucks, after the Bucks won it last year, I think NBA fans are starting to branch out of their normal ruts as far as the teams that they watch and follow, and that this is a really cool time for the NBA. If you look at the good players that they have, it's as if Major League Baseball could learn something from them.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. Okay.
Sure is.
And I want Embiid. He's not young, but he's not old.
No.
Giannis, young. LeBron. These are the leading scorers in the NBA. DeRozan, young. Trae young. Morant, young. Doncic, very young. Donovan Mitchell. I mean, these are, Stephon Curry's on there and all that, but these are the young stars are unbelievable.
Yeah. Wild thing about the NBA, though, is DeMar DeRozan, I wouldn't say DeMar DeRozan's young, but he's like early 30s, and so, or approaching mid-30s, so he's almost like an old guy because, these guys are stars by 24, 25, but yeah, it was just a simple halftime buzzer beater that wasn't that simple. I certainly couldn't have pulled it off, but it was the most watched Instagram video the NBA has ever posted. It said, according to the league, the video reportedly picked up 42.1 million views. And for the game of just the clips they posted, Ja Morant clips were watched 80 million times from the other night, which is, that's why that little shot got the record. He's been viewed, his videos have been viewed 325 million times overall, which is reportedly the third most of any player in the league behind Steph Curry and LeBron James. So that's Ja Morant for you right now.
Here's a Paul Catalina side note on Ja Morant. Florida State ended his college career, so
there you go.
I mean, I think
raise the banners.
I think Leonard Hamilton's strategy was Ja's going to score 28. If we make sure nobody else scores any, then we're fine.
We'll beat them 52-51. From Mike Games, by the way, Ja Morant is the best player in the NBA right now. Give it a couple of years, NBA will get him out of the small market of Memphis.
Yeah, we'll start hearing Knicks rumors and Brooklyn rumors, but right now he's averaging 27.6 points, 6.6 assists, and 5.9 rebounds per game. He's shooting nearly 50% and over 30% from three. I mean, he is ridiculous right now, and now he has the most watched Instagram NBA video ever. Speaking of basketball, especially for you, being in your 60s now, I mean, how many sports classics do you think you've seen remade now at this point? There's been a handful. I mean, they've pretty much they haven't tried to redo Field of Dreams or, the natural, but they're probably going to at some point, right? I mean, at some point, Hollywood's going to probably revisit that.
Why not just come up with something?
Because
unique?
they never do. Because that's
hard.
Because it's hard to be original,
Look,
and every story's been told according to some.
You know what Craig and I go to see tonight? The Batman. Not the first Batman movie they've ever made.
No.
Which to me means
it's a different Batman.
It's a different one.
It's different.
Yeah. Different.
They call it something different.
Here's the thing.
But it's Batman.
Call it Beachman.
Batman is Batman is Hamlet now. Like if you're, back in the day when you played Hamlet, there's different
Batman is Hamlet.
It's our Hamlet.
Well, actors want to play it. I mean, it's a coveted role. I mean, people want to be Batman. Look at Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Michael Keaton. I mean, it's not like duds that are signing up for that role. But the reason why I bring this up is because there is a sports classic that is in the works to be remade now. White Men Can't Jump is being remade. And not only that, but they've already hired the actor who will play the role that was played by Woody Harrelson. And I don't know how many people, I think some people will know who this is. Many others in our audience probably will not. But rapper Jack Harlow is going to play the same role that Woody Harrelson played in this White Men Can't Jump reboot. And I had the same reaction, Paul. I know who Jack Harlow is. I've listened to some of his music. I like some of his songs. But when I saw this, as somebody who's not too old to not kind of still be with some things, although I'm approaching that very quickly, but also too old to probably be a huge Jack Harlow fan and be really excited about this. I don't know what to think, quite frankly, except for I don't want to see anybody other than Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes playing the White Man Can't Jump roles, but Jack Harlow is going to play one of the roles. I don't know who's going to play Wesley just yet.
White Man Can't Jump is a genuinely hilarious movie for many, many reasons. Woody is great in it. Wesley Snipes, and I know he's done some good movies, but it might be Wesley Snipes' best movie because he is really, really funny in it. And Rosie Perez makes the entire movie, and they're not going to cast anybody.
That's going to be Ariana Grande.
Who's as funny as Rosie Perez was in the original.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be Ariana Grande or some
stupid, Billy.
Some girl from Euphoria or Zendaya will be Rosie Perez's role. Yeah. But yeah, I saw that, and I just had to shake my head a little bit because I was not expecting a reboot of White Men Can't Jump.
Can it be Selma Hayek?
No, she's too old.
Too old at this point.
Too
old at this point. Peyton Manning's TV career is continuing to blossom and even going outside of sports right now. According to Awful Announcing, Peyton Manning and his Omaha production company have had a pair of series ordered by the History Channel. One series will be called History's Greatest of All Time, where Manning will feature a countdown of the greatest of all time in some specific type of a category. So that will be one of the roles. The other one's going to be called the Einstein Challenge. And the description for that reads, half-hour series, it's being produced, blah, blah, blah. We'll see two world-class experts compete to see who can best explain seriously complicated concepts, such as how does an airplane fly or how bad was the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, to a panel of kids. So that is Peyton Manning's production company. A couple new series on the way, including ones that he's obviously going to be a part of with that History Channel one, but a little Hollywood outside of sports action. And I think I'm going to leave it there for right now. I think that's a few things off the radar.
I like the idea for that show. I think
time for one more story.
I think Peyton will be great with it. I think he's excellent on television.
Yeah, he is. So, and I'm sure this is just the start of much more. That production company, when it's all said and done, is probably going to end up being pretty I mean, it's already doing well, but I think it'll only grow and grow.
All right, one more story.
All right, MLB is talking about we're working on it. Basically, we're working on it, the whole lockout thing and all that. But I did see, World Series odds that came across my page, and I didn't get the full league because I was curious to see how low the Rangers were, how in the middle they are. But I only was able to see the top 10. Of the odds that were released. And I'm just curious, Paul especially, just your thoughts. Mets, the favorite to win the World Series, according to
Scherzer, Syndergaard at the top of that rotation.
Who's their backup shortstop?
That I don't know, but they still
have matters.
But they still have Francisco Lindor. I mean, they're all right. I mean, the Mets are going to be good. Scherzer alone is worth, not only just on the mound, but just the attitude he brings, is probably worth 10 wins when he's not pitching, because you don't mess around in a Max Scherzer clubhouse.
Can you imagine being a Mets fan and this is the year they decide to lock out? Are you serious?
It's not going to be a lot of grab ass.
No. So Mets followed by Yankees, White Sox, both of them 11-1, Dodgers 4, Padres 5, Braves, Jays, Astros at 8, Phillies, Tigers. Those are the top 10 best odds to win next
Tigers.
Where the hell is your team?
The Red Sox? I mean, we
top 10,
past 10.
We don't know who the starting rotation is going to be. Yes, we don't know.
No, you can say that with Florida State.
We as a collective of people. Right. I mean, who's name after? I don't know who the rotation is.
All right. Okay.
To be fair, the Tigers are 35-1 at number 10. So it's not. I mean, I think that speaks more to there's a few teams that people feel like can win it, and probably not a whole lot beyond that. Sort of like college football.
I wonder if the season being shrunk in any way, 20 games, 30 games, 50 games, allows those who are not as good a better chance to possibly screw up those odds. Here's a couple more notes, and this is a horrible note. Stanford women's soccer player Katie Meyer died at 22. Goalkeeper, captain of the Stanford women's team, on-campus residence. Death was not yet provided. Of course, everyone. I saw Emmett Smith reaching out about a parent. God help us if we're ever a parent that has to be informed that you've lost your child at such a young age.
Yeah, and I think people have kind of assumed what happened or suggested what happened, and rightfully so. There's some people that are kind of caught off guard. We've seen stories like this sort of piling up during the pandemic of just young people struggling. But you think about a girl who's at Stanford, is 22, is a great athlete, and potentially did something, and that's tough to swallow. I mean, it really is hard to wrap your head around. It really is. That's a very sad story.
And then this final quick story: the New York Liberty were fined $500,000 for chartering flights and other violations. The WNBA actually has a rule against teams, franchises, chartering flights because they feel like it's a competitive disadvantage for others who can't.
That it's kind of like the old USFL rules because they had a salary cap in place, but George Allen, his team broke it. He paid people under the tables, but maybe it's time to get some more owners in your league that can do it, and just hopefully the WNBA can grow a little bit so they can all do that.
The owner of the Liberty has actually, from what she said, or a spokesman, that has prevented some options for the WNBA to have better travel accommodations, but the WNBA said we never got anything from anybody. So, but that's interesting. You have an owner who's willing to charter flights, spend more money, excuse me, and yet then gets fined because they're trying to help their players have better accommodations, maybe a quicker flight, get away in 3 or 4 hours rather than have to wait around for something else. When we come back, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. When we come back, I received a direct message yesterday from Alan Thomas, I think his name is. He writes for a website in Louisville, Kentucky. And I then saw him today tweet something using some quotes from Baylor insiders. None of them were really from me, but I'm going to share you what he said to me, not because I'm putting him on the spot, because there's chatter. Louisville's still looking for a men's basketball coach. Is it Chris Mack that was the one who was fired? And then they've had an interim. And also my response that I don't think I speak for anyone from Baylor, but I think I can speak for anyone knowing about Baylor's coaches are always, others are looking for them, which is an incredible compliment. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and champions.
Truck Month started early at Allen Samuels. You could get a 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $7,500 or as little as 0% for 72 months. This month, first responders get an extra $500. Come see why Ram continues to win awards year after year. Take home power, performance, and reliability, and shop the huge new car and truck inventory in stock today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want
Want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Abram Smith with a good run. Look at Abram Smith. They were pinned at their own 5 after the Mac Brown punt, and he weaves his way past midfield.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
5 o'clock hour. At the bottom of the hour, former Baylor guard and ESPN broadcaster King McClure will join us. Everything college basketball as tonight TCU plays at Kansas after their win a couple of nights ago in Fort Worth. That kind of it didn't flip the Big 12 standings by any means upside down, but it sure changed on who could win it. Kansas can still win it. They control their own destiny. Baylor can win it. They control their own destiny. And Texas Tech doesn't control their own destiny, but they put themselves in position where maybe they can get a piece of that as well. Now, I received a direct message last night from Alan Thomas. Alan is he's a historian, proud dad, hubby. Let's see, he's stateoflouisville.com is what he writes for. This is what he sent to me, the question. How's it going? I write for a sports and leisure website in Louisville. There's a little chatter about Scott Drew having interest in Louisville. Curious if you have heard a peep about it. Thanks so much for your time. Now, you'll see part of my response at the bottom, but the full response is something that I just sent Armstrong. That's terrible. Now, just go ahead and take that down, Armstrong. I can't read that. I wish it was the opposite colors. What I did say was this, and we can discuss this on the chat room, Paul, Craig, and phone calls if you'd like at 254-339-1122. I've heard the chatter, but Baylor fans are those of us who cover them are used to the chatter, and I would be stunned if there was anything to Scott Drew in Louisville. I know Louisville is a tradition-rich men's basketball program. Baylor is rolling along, and they're about to build a brand new arena, or what is called a pavilion, and Coach Drew has been waiting for this to happen, and Baylor pays him very well. Most and more than most people realize. Dave Aranda, rumored to be the top choice at a handful of the Blue Bloods. At the end of last season, early offseason, fans were concerned because of turnovers at head coach in football, but Aranda never blinked, not once, and wasn't leaving for any of the rumored destinations. So Baylor fans are used to Scott Drew, or mainly the football coaches, Matt Rule, of course, even when Art Briles was there.
But this is also, and this is no offense to this guy, but this is Louisville fans and Louisville people saying, okay, we are a tradition-rich program. Where's a program that's really good now that we could go pluck somebody from? Oh, Baylor. They don't really know anything about Baylor. And so they just assume that somebody would come running to Louisville. Scott Drew could have come running to a lot of programs when things were a lot worse for him than they are right now. Look, this is a guy who spent near 20 years in the shadow of the women's program, and you tell me what other school has to do that? Nowhere.
Not even UConn.
Not even UConn.
Not Stanford.
Not Tennessee.
Not Notre Dame.
No one that has to spend the shadow of the program. And it wasn't athletic department-wise. It was just there was a coach there who cast a very large shadow because she wanted to and earned a lot of it. But he's not going to leave now that he is, the top dog coach-wise in the university, even above technically or equal with football right now, because the football guy's new and he's just had one good season. And while everybody loves him, it's still, you're the top dog coming off a national championship in one of the two, cash earning sports. The other thing is you're not going to beg for an arena to be full most of the time, finally get one built to your specifications and then leave. It's just not him. And that's not even getting into his own personal character. If you look at his history, look, his dad was at Valpo forever. Scott's been at Baylor now forever. They're not a family who's going to, of their own volition, going to hop around job to job. You think Homer could have left a couple different times? The basketball world is like that. No, I would be flabbergasted beyond belief if he got a stadium that's going to be built to his and Nikki Collins' desires pretty much and not walk in the door.
Yeah, I saw that chatter as well on social media the other day. It came from a Louisville fan who I guess does maybe some media stuff. I couldn't quite tell from the profile, but that's where it originated. And, it basically said that Scott Drew would listen. Everybody would listen. Agents listen. And so, yeah, I'm sure Scott Drew's agent might listen to what somebody has to say. But without any shred of evidence either way, it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Louisville won a national title in 2013. They've got more national titles overall than Baylor does, but Baylor just won it last year. Mm-hmm. They've got a new arena coming. He's putting guys into the pros on a level that they've never had before. He's recruiting on a level they never had before. Money isn't an issue. He gets along with the women's basketball coach. I could go on and on and on for reasons why it makes absolutely zero sense for him to go to Louisville. The only thing that I feel like any opposing team could come in and just be like, here's where we're better, is like consistently packed crowds. Like a Texas Tech atmosphere or a Cameron Indoor atmosphere or something along those lines. I think that ultimately that's what he would love to have in Waco. I think on Saturday you saw that it can be that, and other times you've seen that as well. But that would not be a reason either to solely go to Louisville. So I don't know what Louisville would offer that would be enticing enough for him to want to even seriously debate it. I'm not putting a lot of stock into that. When people say people will listen, yeah, I'm sure an agent will listen to what another place has to say, because if you're going to all of a sudden pony up and go, we'll give him $100 million over 4, well, I'm going to listen to that, of course. But outside of that, it just doesn't make any sense on any single level. Things are going way too well right now to disrupt that, to start over and take over a program that's not Louisville 2013, but is Louisville 2021 or 2022 and is not in the best of shape right now. I don't think he'd be scared of that job, but why would you go and take a rebuild, makeover type of job when you've got everything you've ever put your heart, blood, sweat, and tears into finally occurring right in front of you? That makes no sense.
Said he would listen. No one knows that. It also mentions, just like with a lot of the Dave Aranda scuttle, that some took more seriously than others, and I tried to explain that, but I get it. I understand why there's this concern. You know what? Just because someone targets your head coach doesn't mean that coach is interested.
No,
How many times did we hear that Dave Aranda was the number one target or candidate at USC or LSU or whoever else? Constantly. And that was their opinion, their target, their list, their wish list.
You got to remember, though, too, I do think there are a lot of people out there nationally that maybe hear the name Baylor and they're like, oh, that's just some small school in Waco, or maybe they don't even know where it even is in some cases. I mean, some people clearly on national broadcast still don't know how to pronounce it correctly. So that wouldn't be surprising if people weren't all that knowledgeable about it. But if you're thinking that, like, oh, well, Louisville's a big basketball program and that's just dinky little Baylor, then you're exit the conversation immediately, because that's not the way it's set up right now. So yeah, I mean, like, and you're responding to just random tweets. So anybody can get on there and be like, I heard Coach K is not going to actually retire. He's interested in Louisville. I'm sure that tweet's probably out there somewhere on some message board, but it doesn't make it any truer.
Well, that's the Dick Saban has always loved Lake Travis.
Yes, exactly.
He's got, if he's close to Lake Travis, he can recruit, blah, blah, blah. He loves Austin, Texas, blah, blah, blah. But with Scott, and then you mentioned those arenas. Okay, if you list those arenas that are constantly packed, when their coaches like Cameron Indoor, when they retire, they have a succession plan. Mm-hmm. John Shire's taking over Duke. North Carolina, Hubert Davis took over at North Carolina. There's not a let's see what happens. And the places that are packed all the time, most often don't have wide open coaching searches. Look, when Calipari went to Kentucky and took over for Billy Gillespie, then that was the most open that search ever got. So those arenas are very few and far between. Baylor's not the only place that has an attendance problem in college basketball.
Not even close.
Yeah,
no.
so
they're actually in the majority.
Yeah,
and again, like, you see flashes of where it's not that. Like Saturday showed that we can pack this place out. They just need to do it more consistently. That's the only thing. But outside of, and it's very clear that it's something Scott Drew focuses on. He talks about it all the time.
Absolutely.
So outside of that, name one thing that, and I'm sure there's something somewhere along the line, like the color of the jersey. I'm sure there's something, if he could tweak it, he would tweak it. But outside of just having that place packed, night in and night out, sold out, what else is there?
Nothing.
Nothing.
But that is something that it would be nice to know it's always that way, and that doesn't happen overnight, even after a national championship. You would hope it would.
And to be fair, there are plenty of Louisville fans who saw that report as well, or saw that tweet and are like, okay, no, let's be realistic. He's not coming here. So there's plenty of, it's not like there's massive Louisville fans that are, predicting Scott Drew's coming there or anything like that. But yeah, that was of interest when I saw that, but it immediately just made very little sense.
Yeah, Scott Drew ain't going anywhere. Book it, Daniel. The Mike game, Scott Drew leaving for Louisville, I don't think would be seen as leaving for Louisville. It might be seen as leaving for the ACC. But their conference with all the Blue Bloods is not on par right now with what is the Big 12 or even the SEC. Bob Williams, he's talking about something else. Brian, the title of the article was clickbait, but the article never stated he would actually listen. You hear that. He would listen or is targeted. And it can be written, and then people, and I'm glad Alan reached out to me because I showed you what I said. Now, when we had the WNBA New York Liberty story about a team getting fined $500,000 because they were having charter flights. Chris, guys, I have a question. Why does the WNBA exist? They lose money every year because no one cares to watch. This is a charity funded by the NBA more than a serious sport. Bob, Title IX is the answer.
Well, it's not Title IX in pro sports.
No, Joey, the WNBA is just really expensive virtue signaling effort. Charity is the right word. They're doing what they can do. And then even, Bob, I feel bad that college basketball players, women players, really don't have many options. The NBA, to me, is garbage. Now, I know some that just won't watch it. I don't watch much of it either. There have been times, on occasion, I might, but I didn't watch probably 5 seconds of it last year. Mainly because I sometimes didn't know where to find it. And Brittany Griner is a player that I think is a once-in-a-lifetime type of player.
I think the thing that, like, you can't force people to be fans just because, like, women are playing. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they try to guilt trip you into, like, you're bad people because you're not fans and not supportive. And it's just like, I'm just not interested. I'm simply not interested. I don't go to the movie theater very often. Tonight I'm going because I want to see the Batman. But there's dozens of movies that I don't care to go watch.
Is it really tonight, though, by the way?
Yeah, WNBA, like, I got enough sports. I don't need any more. It's just not of interest. I think I'm glad that it exists because it is good for like all these Baylor women that we see playing basketball and doing great. Like they have an option in their career, and they don't just all have singular WNBA careers. They also go play overseas, and that's how they make a living. So I'm not going to bash any way that somebody's out there making a living and able to continue their dreams. But the one problem I do have is sort of feeling like I'm a bad person because I don't support it or whatever, and I do get that feeling sometimes.
Or if you even make a comment
or make any comment, yeah.
It's like, oh my God, you get hammered with the fire ants.
I think and you heard that from maybe people like Liz Cambridge, who's a star in the WNBA.
She's so much smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, right? And so she has that. But here's the thing: you can lash out at all the people you want. The WNBA, the biggest problem is, and I'm sure they know this at their top levels, is your outreach to women is not working because. An empty seat doesn't have a gender. It doesn't have, an empty seat's an empty seat. So a man can be sitting in that seat, a woman be sitting in that seat. The television non-viewership of it is both male and female. Like it could be anything. So if I'm the WNBA, not that I'm not trying to get men to watch, but I do think that would be my secondary target as where I would try to get as many women to watch as I possibly could. And also women are the number one watching TV audience when it comes to anything.
Why is the Super Bowl the ratings?
Because women watch it. Because women watch it too. And so that's where you've got to do it. So I think part of it is their marketing is probably a little off, and part of it is just it's still.
You can't make people care.
You can't make people care, and it's also you are a fan of what you did when you grew up a little bit. I'm a fan of baseball because I played baseball when I was a kid. I was around baseball when I was a kid, and that's why maybe you have a lot of male baseball fans still around that are my age. But if you didn't play basketball when you were a little girl, are you going to watch professional basketball when you're older? You maybe not. And so
if it's good enough, people will watch it. If it's good enough and interesting enough, people will watch it. There's 330-something million people in the United States. There are more women or females than males. It's not just trying to shame somebody into watching something. Give them a reason, and in some cases, it just takes time and may never happen.
I think a big part of the problem is that the number of headlines that I see are always negative headlines. It's always Liz Cambridge complaining about some pay thing, or it's some other player complaining about pay, or it's some player complaining about and that's mostly what comes across my Twitter timeline. Now, it's not geared towards WNBA news, so it making its way through doesn't happen very often, but that's all I see. That's the marketing that's coming to me in a roundabout way, so it's certainly not convincing me otherwise. But as to the story itself and the reason why I even started talking about it, I do think the punishment, threatening to cancel an entire franchise for taking private flights, is absolutely ridiculous and just makes them look like utter idiots.
Yeah,
that part
instead of like, how come we can't have 8 of those owners, right?
Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. Like that just makes them look stupid for being upset and threatening to cancel an entire franchise because they decided to spend money on private flights. Like that, what kind of deal is that? That doesn't make much sense to me.
Chris, the WNBA, there's some harsh comments here. Chris, the WNBA takes great college basketball women, turns them into narcissistic egomaniacs. If they played half as hard as they try to be, whatever this is, social media, they might be fun to watch. Bob agreed. Bob Kramer. Love women's tennis and women's softball, but not a fan of the WNBA. Joey, they have absolutely failed in women watching their own sport, the WNBA. It's not their own sport, but the sport. From Mike, to me, the NBA is unwatchable as well because of the league and networks decide who's on national TV based on market size and not records. Sometimes it's like that for the NFL and Major League Baseball. And then a couple more from Chris. WNBA players want pay like men and say they are good or better than men. If you want pay raised, then fill your arenas. Now, that's another story. We've even seen the women's soccer team. The national soccer team is fantastic, the international team.
They got what they wanted ultimately.
And they eventually got that. But guess what? I don't know if they got that because they're women. They got that because they're damn good, and they had a voice. And from Jerry, they need to lower the rims, 95% layups. If they dunked more, would we watch more? I don't know. They've thought about that, the size of the basketball, and whatever else as well. All right, that's just something from some of the listeners, and thank you for watching who we are, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And now, when we come back, King McClure, former Baylor guard, on the game this weekend where Baylor has a chance to at least get a share of the Big 12 title. His thoughts about what TCU did Tuesday to Kansas in the rematch tonight at Allen Fieldhouse. Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. You look at the Big 12 standings, and it has changed. The same teams are at the top. It's just in different order because of Tuesday, TCU beating Kansas. Saturday, Baylor beating Kansas. And then, of course, Texas Tech has been right there, like just waiting to jump, taking care of most of their business with a couple of hickeys on their roster or their resume as well. King McClure, former Baylor guard, and also ESPN analyst, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Did you just get finished playing a little basketball?
Yeah, man, I literally just got finished hooping with the team, trying to get them right for Iowa State. Did it against Kansas, but trying to help them out, get prepared for Saturday.
Yeah, with the depth issues, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have a former guy that is a starter getting there and going head-to-head with them, huh?
Yeah, it was me and Tweety Carter, actually. So
wow.
we played as a scout team. We played against them. We tried to run some of the Iowa State sets, just help the team any way we can.
All right, King, how's your game right now?
My basketball game or my broadcast game?
Well, listen, we know your broadcast game, but I want to know the basketball game. When you're playing against guys that are, that are in practice, like actual practices every day. I know you still hoop it a lot, but you're not doing every day what they're doing. I want to know how you feel you're holding up.
I actually played really well today. I mean, I was able to throw a few nice dimes and get to the rim easily. I can still play. I can still play at a very high level. My biggest thing is my conditioning. If I could get in shape, I could be able to compete at the highest level. That's what they have over me right now is the fact that they can run up and down the court all day. I run up and down the court maybe 5 times, and I am done.
Well, King, I know we're going to talk about other teams in the Big 12, but might as well start off with Baylor. What a week it has been. The tough win over Oklahoma State, the big game day fanfare, the win over Kansas, turn around 2 days later, you go to Austin, close that building down with a win over Texas, and now sitting pretty in the top 5. But just your thoughts on the grind that they went through, but being able to get through it with 3 wins, was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was super impressive. And reason being is because of the injuries. I mean, they don't have that depth. So for you to play those 3 games against 3 tough opponents, we all know Oak State is a grind no matter where the game is. No matter if it's at the house or if it's at their place, it is a grind. So then you win that game, survive, go to play against Kansas on game day. Just the whole game day adrenaline and everything, that takes so much out of you. But for you to be able to concentrate, still get the dub, and then you follow it up. So Saturday followed up on Monday at Texas. And, Texas is playing very emotional because it's the last game in the Frank Irwin Center. So for you to be able to get 3 huge wins in the Big 12, 3 wins in the Big 12 is good. But those 3, that's special, and that gives you confidence, and that gives you momentum carried into the postseason. So I love that. I love that for Coach Drew and his staff.
King, I admit I didn't think so, but about 2 weeks ago, did you give Baylor a chance to get back in this thing to get a piece of the title and maybe win it outright?
I never really counted them out because the Big 12 is, you just never know. I mean, it's so up and down. You never know who's going to beat who. Every single game is a grind. So I figured that Kansas would drop some. And I figured that if Baylor could beat Kansas the second time, they have a chance of winning. Because I feel like Kansas was going to drop one. If I would have called one, I probably knew they were going to drop the one at TCU because the way TCU played when they played Texas Tech at home, I was like, yeah, if they play like that against Kansas, they have a chance to beat them. Plus, they match up really well with Kansas. Eddie Lampkin, what he provides on the interior against David McCormick, Mike Miles, one of the best guards in the Big 12, they really match up well with Kansas. They'll probably get beat tonight, but I really wasn't surprised about their victory over Kansas earlier this week. So, I never really counted Baylor out, but I'm glad that if they handle business, they can get a piece of the Big 12 championship.
King, what has been the key to them avoiding foul trouble for the most part over this stretch where they haven't been able to sometimes you got to leave a guy on the floor with 3 fouls because there's not somebody you can put up there for 7, 8, 9 minutes to get to the end of the half?
Yeah, I think it's awareness. I think it's watching film. I think it's the coaches making the players aware of, hey, we really don't have the numbers. So because we do not have the numbers, you must be smart. So if you realize, okay, it's the first half, Al Flagler, James Akinjo can't pick up that second foul because they know, all right, we don't really have that many guards. So if I get this second foul, then I have to go sit on the bench because I can't play. I can't risk getting the third in the first half because coaches need me for the second half. So I think that right there, just that awareness, the coaches really stressing it in practice, constantly emphasizing that. I think that is huge for the players. I think it's huge for everybody, the whole program. And they know what's at stake right now. They're older. They've been around the program except for Jeremy and Kendall. Everybody else knows what's at stake. They know what it takes. I think that right there is the biggest thing. Just the awareness of, hey, I can't pick up this foul. And sometimes you have to realize that I can give up this 2 points because that 2 points is not worth my 15 or 20 points that I can get. And I can't get that 15 or 20 if I'm on the bench.
So, King, in order to win at least a share of the Big 12 championship, they have to win this final game against Iowa State. And the good news is that it's at home, and there should be a good crowd, I would think, with what's on the line. But in terms of Iowa State, a middle-of-the-pack Big 12 team, but obviously they've got some bright hopes about the future and moving forward. What are your thoughts on the matchup itself and what Baylor will need to particularly be on point about?
Yeah, I mean, I like Iowa State. I've had a chance to do their past, not this last game, but the game before that and the game before that. I got a chance to watch Isaiah Brockington put 36 on, I think it might have been Oak State or somebody. I forgot who that game was against, but Isaiah Brockington just went absolutely crazy. And he has probably been one of the most consistent players in the Big 12 when you look at it, other than Ochai and Bryson Williams from Texas Tech. I think Brockington is spectacular. I think Tyrese Hunter is maturing in his game. I think the freshman here, he's going to be great in the Big 12 conference for the next 3 years. He's learning how to properly read a ball screen and take his time. The game is slowing down for him. But the other thing that I just don't know about the Iowa State team is the fact that they're so inconsistent. I mean, you play so well for about a stretch of 4 or 5 games. They were on a hot streak. Then you play Oklahoma State and you just get whacked. And that's the name of the game. That's the story on those guys. You just don't know what Iowa State team will be on the court that night. And against Baylor, I don't expect them to beat Baylor. It's senior night. We lost on my senior night, which I still haven't forgot that to Oklahoma State. But I don't think that they'll lose on senior night. I think with everything that is on the line as far as winning a Big 12 championship, I think the guys will be motivated and they're going to get the victory. So I'm not really worried about it.
What are your thoughts about what they have done with Jeremy Sohan and his role?
I love it. I mean, I think that guy right there is working himself into the first round of the NBA draft. It's his versatility. You know, he's a 6'8", 6'9" wing who can guard multiple positions. Really started off playing the 3-4 this year, but now they move him over to the 5. We saw against Kansas, move him to the 5, and now that's a mismatch problem. All of a sudden, McCormick has to close out to Jeremy Sohan, and Jeremy Sohan can put the ball on the floor, drive by him, step back and shoot the 3. He just provides so many options on the offensive end. And defensively, he's tough enough to where he can go down there and bang with McCormick down low. I mean, they say he's light-skinned, they say he switches his hair all the time, and he's a little different. But one thing about the kid, he's not soft. He's tough. Mm-hmm. He's young, he's a freshman, but he plays like a grown man. And that's the biggest thing I like about him. He's maturing and he's evolving. And at the beginning of the year, they said he was good, but now he's starting to really flourish and become that solidified first-round draft pick.
Kendall Brown shooting the threes has also opened up the offense. As a young player, when you're not asked to early on, which they didn't, and they didn't need him to. I mean, you have LJ available and all the guards. You know, you're not really going to expect him to shoot threes. But how much does that change things? And can you talk about what it's like being a player when the coaching staff tells you, like, go ahead and shoot them when you haven't been for the first part of a season?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, the biggest thing about shooting is confidence, right? So I think a lot of times you look at a guy's shot, and I'm not going to name any names, but there were some people that you've seen. When they shoot the ball, it just doesn't look good. Like, their shot actually looks broke. So if it looks broke, 90% chance that it really is broke. When Kendall Brown shoots the ball, it does not look broke. It actually looks good. It comes off his fingertips great. He has great rotation. He shoots it very soft. It looks good. So he has the mechanic and the form to be able to shoot. Right now, it's just all confidence because he's never been in a situation where he had to shoot because he was so much more athletic than everybody he played against in high school that he can just drive by people, dunk on them, call it a day, move on. But now teams are sagging off of him, giving him that three-point shot. And it's all about confidence. You see, if you go in a game and your coach is telling you to shoot it, you start to build up that confidence. And the more confidence you have, then you start seeing them go in more and more frequently. So I think that right there, his confidence is starting to rise and really starting to come out. And I think that's huge for him because they're going to need a three-point shooter because if he cannot knock down a consistent three ball, that's going to hurt and clog up lanes for Jeremy to drive, for James to drive, for Flag to drive. So he has to be able to at least face the floor and at least be a threat on the perimeter.
King, you've done a few TCU games, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done quite a few. What are your thoughts just on Jamie Dixon and the way they've turned themselves into a tournament team, getting those big 2 wins this past week? I mean, obviously to beat Tech was a great win, but then to turn right around with Kansas. I know they got to play them again tonight, and we just talked about that a few seconds ago, but your thoughts on Jamie Dixon and the job he's done?
I think he's done a great job with this team. I think that at the beginning of the year, nobody really knew what this team was going to be. I mean, they knew Mike Miles was good, but we really didn't know about anybody else as far as we didn't know how Damian Ball would adjust to the Big 12. We didn't know if Eddie Lampkin could play at a high level consistently because he was out of shape. We didn't know what Micah Peavy would bring. We didn't know how Emmanuel Miller would transition from the SEC to the Big 12. And now we're seeing that these guys are tough. They compete on the defensive end. They're long. They're athletic. And Mike Miles, the fact that he's grown so much as a player. I mean, he's from Dallas, a kid who played on the same AAU team I played on. And at the beginning of the year, he was a high-volume shooter. All he wanted to do was shoot the ball, get up shots, really was not that efficient. Now you see him starting to take the right shots and mature in his game, get his teammates involved, become more of a playmaker that can score than a scorer who can play make, if that makes any sense. So I think that his involvement has helped this team so much because now he's not forcing shots. And plus, it helps also that Damian Ball finally is starting to be consistent. He can score the ball from the perimeter consistently. So I really like what Jamie Dixon has done. And this team is good. They're hard to beat at the house. They're hard to beat at home. Because when I did about 2 games there, the student section was rocking. It was absolutely unlike I've ever seen in there before. I played there about 3 times, and it was never that lit in there. And the past 2 games I've done for them were absolutely crazy. That place was rocking. It was sold out. And so that helps a lot. But I think that this team is good. I think they're legit. I think they can probably win a game or 2 in the tournament.
King, you know that arena never had a banner of a Big 12 championship, and now they have that, and they're about to possibly have 2. There was never the Final Four. They got close a couple of times, but now they have that. The national championship, now they have that. And I know the team in the late 40s was able to go to what was then the Final Four. You're starting to see these things go up. For a program that was always close, but they were also overshadowed. What does it mean to you as a former player to watch that?
Yeah, what it means to me is that, I had an impact on the program. And, I mean, without me, without guys like Tweety Carter, without a lot of guys who came before, Jake Lindsey, all these different guys, Ismail Wainwright, this wouldn't be happening. So regardless of the fact that if we're the ones receiving it, they still benefit off of what we went through. And Coach Drew does, because we had to put so many sacrifices there, and we laid the foundation for what we see now. And I think right there it just means so much because, you put your blood, sweat, and tears in a program so that one day you can get this. And not every program gets this. So it's an honor and a privilege to be associated with a program that actually wins and consistently wins. Because when you look at it, when you look at the programs that consistently win, it's really the Blue Bloods. And they have a rich history. And for us to start to be in that conversation of, all right, Baylor is now mentioned in the same category as Kentucky, as Duke, as North Carolina, as Arizona. That right there means the world, because that means the hard work that we put in paid off, whether we won or not. Now it's paid off because this is what we did it for, so that we can one day see our name mentioned with the greats, that we can be considered and thought of as the greats. Now, I don't take my Baylor stuff off. I want everybody to know. Everybody knows I went to Baylor, but I'm proud. I'm super proud I've always been proud, but I'm even more proud now for my Baylor green and gold everywhere I go, because it means something to me. So I think that's huge. That name Baylor just means something. And when you look around, not just in the basketball program, but in the football program and almost every sport, Baylor is great. It's a household name now. So I think that it means so much as a former player to just see the school having so much success.
King, I asked you about your game. Tweety Carter just came off of his season, probably less than a month ago. What is it like for the young guys to play with somebody who's a crafty, not only skilled, but just a really crafty veteran like that?
Yeah, it's huge. Tweety Carter and James Akinjo, they kind of got into it in a jokingly way, because they're just both competitors. They're both dogs. So today, they were going at it, battling back and forth. Tweety was talking trash to him. It was just good to see a guy like Tweety who played such an impact on this class, such an impact on this program, and a guy like James who is having an impact this year, being able to battle it out and still compete at a high level. So that was great to see, and it means so much because afterwards, so they got into it, but at the end of the day, it's all love, and they came together and basically talked everything, and just Tweety was giving them advice, and just James was just soaking it all up. So it was great to see that and be able to witness the legacy and the history from the program come back and give it to the new players. So it was great to see.
I love that they got it. That one, Akinjo was not afraid to back down, and then a Tweety was, hey, he's like the godfather of this thing, right? And he's one of the ones that kicked this thing off.
Yeah, it was great to see. I mean, Tweety, I'd let him know a few times, like, hey, I was one of the main guys who started this, so don't get it twisted, James. And James was like, well, I'm here now, and it was great to see.
Wow, that
needs to be on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and maybe it will be. We might need to get Tweety on tomorrow to kind of. That's awesome. I love that you go back. And I love the fact that the youngins also, hey, I understand that, but this is our turf now. But they respect the history with you there, with Tweety there. And that's one of the things that even when Baylor was, knocking on the door, former players love the staff, love to come back and support this program. And I'm sure that's probably the case a lot of places, but it does seem to be a special family, even with Scott making sure that everybody that ever touched this program basically got a piece of a net, got a T-shirt, or got something along the way, and also were invited to the parade.
Yeah, it was all love at the end of the day. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Yeah, we come back, and even when I was here, guys like Paul T, Isaiah Austin, they would come back, and we legit get into it with these guys. But at the end of the day, it's all a Baylor family. We're all part of the Baylor family, the Baylor brotherhood. And afterwards, we're like, hey, I want to go eat. Like, let's go eat somewhere. Like Pierre Jackson, same thing. Let's go eat somewhere. And just give me the advice. Give me as much advice as you possibly can. But it's all love. I mean, Coach Drew cares about his players, cares about everybody who stepped foot on this court and played for him. And that just speaks to the man he is. The legacy that he's going to leave behind is absolutely incredible because he's touched so many lives and been able to help so many different guys. I say this all the time. Like, those guys, as far as the coaching staff, they're like my second fathers. I mean, those guys mean so much to me because they're anything I need. If I can call those guys up, any one of them, I can call those guys up anytime, and they're willing to help me at any moment, no matter what happens. When my dad went through his stroke and everything, Coach Drew, Coach Tang, those guys were the main people. Like, hey, how can we help you? Like, what can we do? Like, do I need to come down there and basically like be a support to you? Like, what do you need right now? And literally, whatever I needed, they were there for me. They were a listening ear. And it's like a true sense of family. It's not just like a lot of times people say, hey, we're a family, but they just say that for the TV or the radio or whatever. But this is actually family. Like, this is actually a true sense of family. Like Coach Jacobs and Coach Tang came to Dallas early this week, and they were like, hey, King, we're in Dallas. You want to go eat with us and then go watch this game? And I was like, for sure. I was definitely, let's go. So we went to go eat and then go to watch the game together. And that's just like true sense of family right there. They're like his two mentors to me, and everybody on the staff it means so much to me and everybody who's come through this program. So it's really a true sense of family.
How's your father doing?
He's doing well. He's slowly getting better. It's a slow process anytime somebody goes through that. His mind is sharp. His mind is great. He can have a conversation. He can talk to you all day like he used to be able to. But his body just isn't functioning the same way it used to. It's going to take a minute. He's going to rehab, and he's made a lot of progress. I mean, he's able to do everything by himself now. Just stand up, go walk. But it's going to take, a minute for him to get back to that Leroy, that preppy, always trying to do push-ups in the gym, just trying to like get back to working out all the time, Leroy. So I think he'll get back, but it'll take a minute.
I saw this GoFundMe page. I'm gonna put it up on the YouTube channel or chat room. There was a goal of 50,000. They were at 39,370, and some of these things just don't work, and that's awesome. So I'm gonna put that link up. I hope it's still active. If there needs to be.
I really don't know because I know we reached the goal because a lot of people.
Okay, good.
Yeah, a lot of people gave outside the GoFundMe.
Okay.
So to whoever listened to this, if you gave, thank you so much for helping my family. I mean, it means a lot. There's a lot of people part of the Baylor family who just really, really, reached out and extended a helping hand and gave above and beyond what we even could imagine. So thank you so much for all the Baylor family and the Baylor support that they gave through that tough time.
As I told you earlier today, give everybody where can they get your podcast? Because as I told you, a sponsor is interested in getting involved with that, and you know him, Ted Teague and Alan Samuels. Where do you get the podcast? And are you going to be doing any conference tournament games at all when that starts?
Yeah, so King's Court on YouTube, King's Court with King McClure on YouTube. I'll be doing Nevada and San Diego State on Saturday on CBS, actually. Then next week, I will be on the radio all week leading up to the Big 12 tournament. I'll be on the Big 10 Network radio, Sirius XM. I don't know what channel it is. Tomorrow morning at 7 to 10. I'll be on Big 12 radio all morning next week. Next Saturday, I'm doing the MEAC. And then you can probably catch me on a bunch of different TV shows, guesting on a bunch of different TV shows. And I think I'm doing this live Twitch show during March Madness. And I might do like some sports stuff. But yeah, you can catch me at a lot of different places. Follow me on Instagram, and then you'll probably see where I'm at.
And we'll try to get you when we can as well. King, thank you, man. Great news on your father. Great news on I love the background story today of the workout with King McClure and Tweety Carter against Baylor at practice. King McClure, ESPN broadcaster, former Baylor guard, and just a great young man. Second 365 Radio, 365 Sports. The top 5 is next.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Just a teaser for tomorrow. Our top 5 will be Batman related. I don't know how.
When does it start? When does it start?
Movie starts at 7.
Oh, no, I thought you said March 6th.
No.
For some reason, I had that date.
Yeah,
Thank you both for inviting me.
That'd be a Sunday premiere, which would be kind of weird.
Yeah, Craig and I are leaving after the show and going.
Thank you for inviting me.
I actually did think about inviting you, but I don't think that you would be all that interested.
And then you're going to sit in the movie theater for 3 hours?
It would be interesting. I don't know. I would probably have to walk out and get some popcorn or something like that.
Yeah.
I can go through what are the best, well, we don't have time for that. Might be good theater top 5. That's theater food, if there is 5.
I mean.
Or 5.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, there might be 5 candies.
I'm going.
All right.
I got to do I got to do an interview with the station out of the Southeast.
See, there we go. See, that's why. And I promised that.
But, at least an invitation would have been at least, even if you didn't mean it, would have been nice.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have meant it. I don't know. Yeah. So, I don't need you asking questions. I don't need you asking.
Are we there yet?
Yeah. Number 5, top 5 quarterbacks poised for a breakout in 2022. Number 5, Jackson Dart at Ole Miss, transferred in from USC. The small sample size has some good things, to think about Jackson Dart. But I think with Lane Kiffin in that offense, Jackson Dart could be poised for a breakout that year. And Ole Miss, I think, is a team that is. They might see a little bit of a dip, who knows, but I don't really think that they're going anywhere as far as being a team that's going to be tough to reckon with.
I mean, they're not going to go anywhere as long as Lane Kiffin's there. They're recruiting really well. They're one of the top portal getting teams. They've revamped the roster. Obviously, losing Matt Corral is a blow, and we saw, the step down that they took with
Altmaier,
Luke Altmaier. I actually thought there were some things to kind of like about him, but he's, is obviously a precarious situation. You weren't expecting to play in the Sugar Bowl, especially that early on. But yeah, I mean, Jackson Dart feels like a guy we've talked a lot about, and if he can live up to as much talk as there's been, and in an offense like Ole Miss's, that's going to be probably some. A formula for success, because I think Kiffin's going to always have a guy back there who can pull the trigger pretty well. So, Jackson Dart at Ole Miss is very intriguing. Yeah.
Number 4, Brennan Armstrong of Virginia. This is you heard me mention how I think Tony Elliott is going to do well at Virginia. Virginia might be a team that takes a step forward. It's due in large part to the fact that they've got this guy coming back. And there are 3 ACC schools on this list, Jack alerted me to. But these are kind of the situations where there's not really competition, and these guys are going to be starters. You look around the country, there's a ton of either quarterback competitions or guys who I could have put on this list. Like Caleb Williams could break out. Dude's already broken out. We already know about Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. But Brennan Armstrong, this is one to watch kind of under the radar. Virginia might be better than a lot of people think.
Yeah, he's a good player. Like you said, the ACC, not the most competitive right now. I don't know how good Clemson's expecting to be next year, but, that's who we'll look at first. I mean, I know FSU's kind of slowly coming up as well, but no, Virginia's, with him coming back, that's a team that you have to look long and hard at entering next year for sure. He's a good player. Like you said, the ACC is wide open.
Yeah. Number 3, Jordan Travis at Florida State. Another year as a starter. He was pretty much the whole offense last year, and he finally has some help, hopefully, at the wide receivers position as Florida State went heavy at that position, getting at least 3 guys and maybe another to fill out that roster. And some experienced guys, some with not so much, but more potential that wide receiver position. One of the ones that got cleared out in the Jimbo Willie Taggart kind of clear out. They wound up looking this year. Mike Norvell's like, well, who are my starting receivers? And their best one was Andrew Parchment, a transfer from Kansas of all places. So they were thin at that position, and I think that's going to help Jordan Travis, who we all know can run, but if he has some people to throw to, will be very, very lethal.
I mean, you know better than we would.
Yeah.
I mean, you watched them. I did not watch a ton of Florida State last year. No disrespect. I mean,
they weren't worth
They wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it was not like it was appointment television by any means. But no, he's a great athlete, like you said. I mean, what are your expectations?
I'm expecting a bowl game.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I expect. If they got to, I mean, they were 1 game off of it, so that's what I expect, which is
Would
sad.
that make you happy?
No. I mean, you know,
I know.
Happy, it would make me content. You know, I would make me.
I did not realize he had 1,317 yards, 17 touchdowns in a couple of years. That's a little bit more of a dual threat guy than I realized.
Oh, he can run.
Yeah.
He can run, and he's got a good arm. Sometimes you just wonder, was that him throwing out there, or was the receiver just not there? So,
or were the cheerleaders catching it, or the band?
With Jordan Travis, I think the big question was, and they have to answer it, was it the receiver's fault? FSU seems to think it was the receiver's fault. They didn't have a lot of good players at that position, so we'll see what happens as they've rated the transfer portal. Number 2, I already know we know a lot about him, but Dylan Gabriel got hurt, essentially kind of lost his job. I think going into Oklahoma and Jeff Lebby's offense again will help people remember how good of a player he was in the spurts that we saw him.
Yeah, if there wasn't that connection, I don't know if I'd be as high on this move.
Yeah.
I mean, not because of the player or anything. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is a really good player, but I mean, that's what puts it over the top is the fact that there's already a built-in connection, and you've seen it work and have success. And so I think that's what gets you most excited about it. And then the fact that you were, looking around the quarterback room before he announced his transfer and wondering, okay, so if Caleb Williams does leave, what in the world are we going to do? Because there's an empty cupboard basically. So yeah, that was a big get for them. Obviously the writing felt like it was on the wall with Caleb Williams, but I think going and getting Dylan Gabriel is probably a better move than most people would have expected as far as an alternative plan to not having Williams. But yeah, I think the Oklahoma offense will be just fine. I mean, they do lose some really good players, but they've hit the transfer portal hard. They're recruiting well, and Brent Venables seems to have a good game plan going. So it's definitely a new era in Norman, but Dylan Gabriel is a good place to start off with.
Yeah. And number 1, Tyler Van Dyke from Miami. This is a guy who, in the spurts last year when he took over the starting job after De'Aaron King got hurt again, he really showed what he can do. And less than a year, really, of starting experience. But Tyler Van Dyke should be scaring the rest of the ACC, especially given that Mario Cristobal, I don't know how successful he'll be there because the biggest problem with Miami has not been the coach really in any regard. They haven't made some great decisions at times, but Mario Cristobal is going to, top down kind of organizationally run that team to where they will improve. I don't know how quickly and how fast, but Tyler Van Dyke, it's a good place to start. If I'm Mario Cristobal, I feel more comfortable taking that job knowing I've got a guy who can spin it like he can under center.
Yeah, I watched him quite a bit actually last year, and he's a good, solid player. He was better than I expected him to be out of the gates, and I don't know if I really had any sort of expectation, but I was like, oh, wow, he's a pretty good player the more I watched him, and was definitely one of their bright spots. I think Cristobal is going to do great there. There's just some guys, you just know they have that organizational structure, and they're not going to fall privy to the same types of, dumb mistakes that some new coaches fall into. I think he knows his role there. He knows how much power he's got, but he knows his place and he knows what they need to do. And they seem to be hard at work at trying to turn this thing around as quick as possible. So yeah, great quarterback to have to start things off with. And I think Cristobal and the Hurricanes will be a good match.
Let's go. I know we're up against the time. Matt McBriar just getting off of the work. Said now listen to his favorite regular show. Thank you. Mike wants to do possible top 5 for the future. Group of 5 schools poised to challenge for the playoff. Okay. Gregory saying that I want to see Paul have a top 5, you and Craig, Batman villains who need to make their own movie.
He's got the best rogues gallery of any character out there, easily.
From Lee Buttercup, Dart will be the second best Jackson next year after Jackson player spelled differently. And then also Lee Buttercup, unfair to give that Ole Miss coach a hard time for his Sugar Bowl performance. Kyler Murray would have done poorly against that Baylor defense and sacked 10 times. All right. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go home and do a radio show with Cuz's Corner.
I swear I thought about asking you. I just didn't really think you'd be interested, but I
would have gone.
I mean, some of this is just so the audience feels bad for him.
I would have gone just for the movie theater popcorn.
I've been doing a radio show long enough to where Smokey likes to paint one of us, me, as the bad guy.
Well, he's my son.
Yeah, I know. So it's not going to be him.
You're my adopted son.
Yeah, but see, I'm the bad guy. I'm the Joker here. And he's Batman.
Oh, you damn sure are.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. Very nice. You're like Man-Bat, Clayface, whoever those people are.
Wow, that's actually, you must have got that off the chat room.
Off the chat room.
Jack, Emery, and Armstrong, thank you all who watch and listen to us. For Craig and Paul, them, good luck with the movie. I'm David Smoak. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.